Okay, shall we just get to the episode?
All right.
We need to call ours other than episodes. Anyway, this is the LHC, and we are discussing RahXephon episode 3 and 4. So, RahXephon 3.
So RahXephon episode 3 starts off outside Tokyo Jupiter, which is really...
No, it doesn't.
The first... What do you mean? Oh, no, wait, yes. See, this is the reason why you have to take... This is why you have to take charge and start saying what happens in the episodes.
Alright, fine. I will take control of this particular part of this then. Fine. Firstly, it opens exactly where we left off. In fact, it opens a few seconds before we left off because, it's at least not time wasting, but it does recap nicely that way. So, Ayato is in the RahXephon. He's there. He doesn't really know why. He's just seen his mother pouring blue blood all over her face and the floor. No, so there's several things that are important here when he's in the RahXephon. Firstly, he starts psychically talking to his mother. She doesn't open her mouth. He just hears her voice within the RahXephon or within her head. It's not quite made clear.
Do you think there's something significant in that? Because you seem to want to state that they were talking to each other in their heads and that was somehow important.
I do think it is important because I think it establishes her in the same... Well, I was actually just going to get into this the next point, because the next point is, after she starts psychically talking to him, she refers to the Mishima character, who she spots, which, once again, she can definitely see Mishima, she can definitely interact with her. She refers to her as Ishli, and this seems to be some sort of major rival.
You think rival, do you?
Well, I get that feeling from her. She's certainly surprised that she's there. Ishli seems to be taking Ayato's attention away. She would like Ayato to do one thing, and she's finding that Ayato's entirely not, just because of this other character.
Mm-hmm.
So I get the feeling that's more of a rivalry than anything. But at this point she also flies, so it's very hard to put her on a human term of whether she sees this as a rival or anything else. Because, Ayato's mother starts flying, she starts psychically talking, and has blue blood. She's not quite normal.
Surely not human, because we've been hearing about these other people for a long time.
Yes. If not inhuman herself, then certainly... Well, the thing is, it's never made clear at this point about what is a Mulian. Is the Mulian the giant Dolem? Is it the actual ghostly things that we see in the control room? Is it the people with blue blood? They haven't actually told us which of this... I mean, they're all the Mu's general stuff, but is it a term for everything in that list? Is it a term for one thing? They're still being quite conservative with their information at this point.
I don't know. I think that seems very clear to me, but whatever.
What, the people with blue blood are Mulians?
People with the blue blood are Mulians, and the things, like dolems and things, that's like tools. That's like saying, but what is a human? Is a human the tractor that they use to plough their fields? Is a human the car it uses to race across Monaco?
I will absolutely agree with you that dolems fairly easily can be ruled out as being giant robots controlled by Mulians for purposes of tools. However, are the Mulians the people with blue blood, or are they the ethereal, semi-transparent people that appear as the pilots of the dolems in the cockpit, in the control room?
Now, this is interesting, because this brings up something that I often understanding when people talk about anime, is because to me that seems very obvious that they are holograms of some kind, just to show the pilots to the people in charge. To me that seems just immediately obvious.
I can't really comment further without going into later things in the series at that point, but if you want to call it that now, but I would actually disagree with that. I do not feel that it's showing the pilot, really. Yeah. Well, okay. In a non-spoiler way, I know for a fact that the person controlling the Dolem isn't in it. I know this from later things where you see someone who is the pilot of a Dolem, and you see the Dolem fighting, and they are not one and the same in location. They are away from one another. The Dolems are controlled remotely. They're not controlled from internal pilots. So as such, they're not holograms of the pilots, because the pilots aren't looking like that either. Anyway, we're not really getting to a point more than just, what is a Mu and what is a human, really, at this point. But going back to the episode itself. So, the control room. Now, the control room, unfortunately, is having a jargon overload, which is causing everyone to panic, because the quantum condensation is resonating with the aria, causing the phase convergent to realign with itself.
I noticed, along with the usual sciencey bull that comes straight out of Star Trek, did you know there was quite a few musical terms just thrown in there?
Yeah, as I say, resonate and aria. Resonation and aria are the only two I will give him a pass about, because the quantum phase condensation and convergence.
Yeah.
I mean, you're the physicist, not me, but I don't get the feeling those words mean anything other than that people will recognise them as high-order physics terms.
Yeah, it's the usual thing where people use the word quantum and it doesn't mean anything.
Exactly, I'm fully aware that that's an issue you have with most science fiction using it.
Again, resonance is an actual proper physics term as well.
Resonance, absolutely fine, resonance, yeah.
But again, I don't think it was used super appropriately. Used more in the kind of supernatural term of the word resonance.
Well, we get the same thing in quite a lot of series where they want to have this big science area of people in a control room talking about science and stuff, but they either are making everything up or they don't want to actually try and bother to find anything. I mean, do you remember, we were at a pub quiz once where they put up jargon speeches from anime and you had to guess what the anime was.
Yeah.
Such as the AT field inversing on itself and similar. So, yeah. It's just yet another example of a series going, we need some science now. Put the science jargon words in and we'll hope for the best. Luckily, our main person there, the man in the glasses, he seems to not really feel that the science is that appropriate, because at the end he goes, science, which means it's waking up. And you just go, I don't know if you got that in the Japanese, but literally he turns to the camera at the end and says, it's waking up. That's basically the translation here.
Yeah, nazomite.
So,
yeah, he says it's waking up as well in Japanese, pretty much.
No, exactly. So that's the thing. We're just kind of going straight in at this point to, oh well, that last scene, we got the gist of it. And this, of course, is a dolem that is waking up and apparently resonating on the quantum condensation field. So it appears behind Ayato's mother. Do we know Ayato's mother's name? It's the lady...
Maya.
Maya, that was it, yeah.
Yeah, Maya.
I'm having a massive problem remembering everyone's names at this point.
I always keep 2 lists of the character names up on my browser while we're having this, just so I know.
I should probably start doing that myself. But yeah, I've started just making, especially like I said, I've been trying to do a bit more shorthand, so I've been just doing initials or single letters to denote people. So the dolem breaks free, flies up, and then interacts with the Lady Maya. And
well, she's in charge.
She's definitely in charge. She's very, very much in charge at this point.
What is it that to you, as they show Maya, that makes her seem so in charge?
She's in control of every situation, I think, is the main aspect. She's got a lot of self-confidence in the way she carries herself. She, in no way, doesn't expect things to go her ideal, really. And even when they don't, and, say, exploding shrapnel cuts her face, and she pours blue blood all over the place, she doesn't panic, she doesn't act in any way injured, she just stands up, stares at her straight in the face and goes, yeah, I've got blue blood, deal with it. Deal with it psychically with me in your head. You're a very naughty boy and you should do what your mother tells you. This is the thing. She treats the whole of the series so far as her naughty child.
I think that's something that does sort of continue on whenever Ayato has to interact with her. She does seem to sort of go, why aren't you doing everything I tell you to do?
I know, I'm your mother and I know best. Exactly. But no, I do feel that she is in charge of not just herself, the organisation, Ayato, but it just seems like she's in charge of life generally. She doesn't even seem frustrated or vexed when anything really goes wrong. She's just like, I'll fix that. That's fine. The eruption of the dolem through the floor shatters quite a bit of the floating pillar things that's going on. I mean, I'm not entirely sure how that works, because you've got these floating rocks.
Art.
I know, no, I'm on board with the art of floating rocks. However, how does something bursting through the floor cause floating rocks to fall? They're floating rocks. They're not connected to the floor in any way.
You're thinking about this too much. This is a place with a giant egg which hatched a robot. I think I think you're sort of...
Alright,
If anything you need to be concerned about is, why do robots come from eggs? Before we worry about, why are rocks floating? If rocks are floating on their own, I think that's worthy of mentioning. And if they don't mention it, it's always kind of weird. But, I know, that's usual for this sort of show. I've seen plenty of other shows with similar things, like Avatar, the movie.
Yeah,
for example.
That's a terrible film, but that's a different conversation.
But what I mean is, things
fine.
of that genre. I'm using a nice general movie that everyone would have heard of to explain what I mean.
Absolutely. But no, the floating rocks certainly are there for the artness and the ethereal nature of the whole thing. It's to make it clearly magical.
Well, I would say it's not even...
otherworldly.
Not even to make it seem otherworldly. I think a robot hatching out of another egg makes it otherworldly enough. To question the floating rocks would seem ridiculous right now when we've got giant clay robots fighting.
Okay, fine, alright. Moving back, so the giant clay robot bursts through the floor, and this, of course, by logical deduction, would of course mean that the rocks fall from the sky. And they fall right towards... Well, it doesn't, though, because you see the ceiling later on, and the ceiling hasn't broken in any way. There's no cracks in it. There's only the hole that they arrived through when you look up at... They look up at the ceiling. There is one big hole that the RahXephon both enters by and leaves through.
Fragments could have fallen off, but regardless... I don't think
fragments, it's giant rocks. They are giant rocks. They're not fragments of metal or ceiling or anything. There's one of the giant floating rocks. Anyway.
At the risk of being too editorial, again, I do not think the ceiling damage matters. I do not think there is a grand theme throughout all of RahXephon of destruction of ceilings. I think at the moment this is the...
No, they break a lot of ceilings metaphorically.
Yeah. Oh. If anything, I think this is the traumatic separation of mother and child. Is the thing running through these scenes.
Well, yes, it's the egg hatching. And
Ayato literally comes out of his egg and he faces his mother, and tools of his mother's influence start to attack him, and he resists.
Well, also, you've got the clear thing that his mother does not like Haruka.
I don't think she even notices Haruka at this point, does she?
She's aware of her.
That's how the Americans say it, isn't it? It's Sto in... Haruka store when I'm hearing it. But of course, that's just accent difference. But anyway.
Exactly. The problem is, I'm going to be repeating... Because I'm hearing the American repeatedly before this.
That's no problem.
Once again, we're watching these episodes immediately before recording, so it's fresh in my mind and everything. So no, if there's a slight difference between the way that you pronounce things and I pronounce things, it's again, because we're listening to different voice casts communicating. Mm-hmm. I would say, yes, you're completely right. It is all about breaking away from your mother and becoming your own person, and awakening is the term they are constantly using. But regardless, this giant floating rock falls towards Haruka, and he instinctively tries to reach out and save her, despite being in the cockpit, in, a completely black environment.
Yes, he reaches out, and his arm passes through the screen and becomes the RahXephon's arm as it shields her, which is a very beautiful piece of animation.
It is.
A very interesting part of the RahXephon that we never see again. As far as
I think it comes up once again.
It comes once again, maybe once. But yeah, it seems a bit weird how he just goes, this, and from then on in he ends up using joysticks or something.
What is actually quite interesting there is that the distance of the monitors moves, because when you see him looking out over the monitor, they're several meters away.
It's ages away.
It is. It's a fair distance, and the room, like we say, is completely black, other than this giant throne structure he's on, which is the sort of
in the shape of two cupped hands, by the way.
Exactly. Yes. So at that point, he reaches out, and the screen goes, "Oh shit! It looks like he doesn't quite understand how screens work. Let's move really closer so that he can use it like a touchscreen." And he sticks his hand straight out the screen. The RahXephon reacts in much the same manner, shields Haruka, and then balls her up in some white light and puts her away somewhere. It's never really specified where, but then...
It just keeps her in his hand, really, doesn't it?
No, you can see the hand later on, and it's not there.
I don't know, I swear he's still holding her in a hand until a little bit later, and then he flies off, and then it kind of disappears. But again, I would say where Haruka is.
The RahXephon doesn't. The RahXephon is a TARDIS, okay?
Yeah.
It is clearly bigger on the inside than it is outside. Because where is this room that he's in? He is in a room with monitors, the big cuppy hand throne, and at least several meters width all around him. There isn't enough space in the RahXephon for that. Anywhere, really. Mm. And he always seems to exit and enter through the light, or just the cutscene changes and he's already there. You don't see him disappearing half the time. He's just not currently where we had him, and he's suddenly the RahXephon's being piloted.
Yep.
So, yeah. I do think we're not meant to question the physics of either the floating rocks or the magical robot. Yeah, this is much more of a artsy than sciencey show, which I don't have a problem with, as long as you establish that there aren't any strict rules and that everything's done because narrative. I think that can really work. It's when you try to establish that there are strict rules and everything works according to precision, and then bullshit happens because of narrative, that I get really angry. It's the dissonance between them. This is also when you first get the Ishli Mishima character going a bit evil. At this point, she's been a bit of a guide, she's been quite manipulative, but this is when her eyes glow red and she goes, "Go on, Ayato, kill it! Kill it!" Really?
I don't think that means necessarily evil.
No, but she goes intense and she says, you're going to remake the world, it'll be awesome. And she does get very intense.
She does, yeah.
Yeah.
But
until then...
That's kind of the point of this character, as we'll find out.
Well, I know, but at this point she's been the softly spoken guide. I think it's notable this is the first moment that she ends up sort of getting quite aggressive and sort of a little more revealing of her personal feelings rather than just what she wants to present to the world.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so they both float up outside of the egg dome, the Shrine of Ra, as it's called, into the Tokyo sky, at which point the Dolum and the RahXephon commence fighting. The fighting from the RahXephon's part originally starts with it just standing there, just floating in midair, Mishima on one shoulder, at which point the Dolum fires a massive light beam directly at him, and Mishima disappears. Ayato thinks the worst at this point, assumes she's been killed horribly.
Well, not only do Ayato, we're kind of made to think she's dead, because we get
they do, yes,
it gets blasted off her shoulder and we have like a bit of her yellow ribbon falls down in front of the RahXephon's face, and Ayato, he gets very pissed, and I mean that's when he
understandably gets very pissed.
He pretty much straight up strangles the Dolum to death.
Yes, he does. Now, the problem with this, right? Firstly, yes, we're all sort of, oh, maybe she's dead, but frankly, I've always had the no body, no death rule of narrative. We don't see her die, we don't even see her hit. And this is a character who's managed to teleport magically onto trains, or teleport magically into classrooms away from people, make phone calls to phones that aren't connected in any way. I mean, to assume that Mishima is dead at this point, you'd have to be fairly naive, really.
Well, again, I don't think that's super important. What's important is that, as far as Ayato is concerned, she's dead.
Yes, absolutely. He reacts badly to this, to say it mildly, really. I'll agree. The one thing that I think is worth noting here, though, is that Dolums have been shown to be pretty powerful. There wasn't really any answer that anybody had on the military side of things to be able to hurt it.
Yeah.
They fired everything they could. The Dolum had a shield. It just walked it all off, and then it blew them all up in a couple of beams of light or sound. Now, the RahXephon rips through its throat in seconds, kills it in pretty much one aggressive movement without a scratch, without any sort of problem whatsoever. The RahXephon is overpowered.
Well,
this is a thing compared to the Dolums.
Well, again, I would. I'm certainly up for going into why the RahXephon should be overpowered in a bit once we get to talk about the RahXephon.
Okay.
No, not to the end. I think after we get through this bit and we're outside to where we need to be.
Okay. This is actually really quite a short period. We've gone on for quite a while about quite a short period of the episode. So I'm terribly sorry. Yes. Anyway, so at which point, after killing the Dolum...
RahXephon rose up, Haruko's on his right shoulder, slightly off-centre. I think it's a 3-degree increase in... Dolum rising in a turn of sort of, I don't know, maybe 500 feet per second.
Well, if you stop disagreeing with me on perfectly reasonable points...
If only you stopped talking to me, we'd have gotten through this.
Yeah, this could change to be the Huw monologues instead. Right, anyway, so yes, he kills the Dolum, kills it fairly quickly, at which point the figure in the control room disappears, and it then generates a circle of light above it. This is the RahXephon, floats higher and higher into this circle of light, and disappears.
Yes.
At which point everyone in the control room explains through physics graphs that he's managed to break the time barrier and re-isolate the quantum singularity and reduce the composite photons of the neutron flux. And the basic gist of this is that it's escaped the barrier.
Yes, the RahXephon also has a sonic screwdriver.
Absolutely,
as well as being
yes.
a TARDIS.
come on. I mean, it's a lot of... Have you seen the graphs they use?
Yeah.
It's just 3 wireframe planes.
Yeah, and they dip down.
Absolute generic science graph.
I don't know. I think that graph appropriately shows... If we can skip to the idea, of course, that Tokyo is in a big bubble, let's just make sure everyone understands that first off.
Yes.
I think that's understandable, because it's showing like the edge of the bubble, and it's sort of warping down for the RahXephon to sort of flick through it, and then it'll return to its regular curve.
Yeah, I suppose.
That's actually one of the few things that I think, if you were going to visually represent warping space-time on a 2-dimensional plane, you might end up having to do that.
Again, I'll concede the physics to you, but...
It's either that or just write it out in algebra, and that doesn't work very well for a visual medium.
No, particularly one that's priding itself on being quite art and sound...
Focused,
sort of
yeah.
Focused, yeah, exactly.
You can't go, my God, the integration!
The algebra! The algebra! X equals 4. I'd really like to see a thing where the actual punchline was X equals, 4. Just all of the build-up and everything was just, oh my God, X equals 4.
Well, at the risk of being really geek, what's the word, geek hipster, well, that's quite clearly Hitchhiker's Guide, isn't it? That's deep thought. He goes, what is the answer? 42.
Yeah, alright. I was actually thinking more and Echo.
Well,
You work through all the equations and it's, you mean X is less than 16? Dun, dun, dun. Yes. Okay, going back to the topic at hand. We're not looking at and Echo, admittedly, and I agree that's my fault for taking it
don't
away.
worry, let's just get... So, the RahXephon escapes, and everyone's like, oh, the Olin has escaped with the Zephon. Grr.
At this point, we've ended I think this is the end of the 2 and a bit part opening, really. Because after this, it's an entire change in genre, in location.
Again, it doesn't change genres. It is very much the same genre.
There's no robot battles for the rest of the episode. I'm talking just the episode, not the show.
Robot
stays, yes.
Robot shows aren't all about robots. Sometimes you got to look angsty while the robot sits around.
He doesn't look much angsty in the rest of this episode.
He has an angst moment towards the end, I'd say, but I'll point it out for you.
Oh no, I'm fully aware of when you're referring to, and let's just discuss till we get to the angst moment then. Okay, so yes, anything you want to talk about his escape and just the general internal Tokyo, because this is the point where we've left Tokyo behind. And again, not going into spoiler territory, but Tokyo's gone now, really. We're not going to go back there for quite some time. And this is when you've abandoned your family, you've abandoned your major characters as they were introduced, because at this point you kind of expected Mamoru and, I don't even remember her name. Begin with an H. Asahina, that's it. Mm-hmm. Hiroku Asahina. Yeah, you've abandoned those. His 2 childhood friends have gone. His mother has gone. Everything he knows has gone. This is a major upheaval for both himself and the rest of the series, really. Because I personally, when I first watched this, wasn't really expecting them to just leave and then not really have anything to do with the middle of Tokyo for the rest of the show.
Well, indeed, that is a massive upheaval, him immediately leaving Tokyo. But I think that's what's good, and that's one of the few good things about taking 2 episodes and a bit to get to this point, is we feel comfortable in Tokyo, and we almost get the feeling of, well, I'm not sure who we're for or what's this about, but I guess we're going to be dealing with stuff in Tokyo, aren't we? Although we've heard plenty of stuff to show that Tokyo is not the whole world as they've been thought of. Despite what modern-day people in Tokyo seem to act like. Ooh. I'm sure actually Tokyo doesn't have like a London problem. There's a London bubble, certainly. I don't actually think there's a Tokyo bubble.
Well, not literally at this point, and certainly not one that looks like the planet Jupiter.
I think we have this whole thing. They took deliberate effort to establish this situation, and it is unceremoniously dropped. And that's good, because that gets us into Ayato's mind as we head into the next moment.
Yes, especially with... We share his complete overwhelmed about new scenario and a bit of loss of old scenario as well.
So he wakes up staring at RahXephon's face.
Yeah, I mean, I've woken up to some weird faces staring at me. A bumblebear in particular, I'm thinking, but certainly never a giant robot. Yes, so he does. He wakes up outside in what appears to be a abandoned small town, complete with shorefront boats and overgrown plants.
Well, it's a just destroyed Japanese fishing town that doesn't seem to have anybody in it.
It's not destroyed, it's abandoned.
Abandoned, yeah, sorry, that's true.
There's no signs of attack or war or anything.
You're right, sorry, yes, it's been abandoned.
It's just abandoned. But, yeah. At which point, for the rest of the episode, we have our character bonding, because what we have is Haruka appears on another boat and decides that we need a bit more sexual tension here.
I don't know, I think they've got chemistry. I'm going to say chemistry rather than tension. Okay, but yeah, I understand what you mean.
No, they have a lot of chemistry, and I think this entire episode, for the remainder of it, is here to illustrate the chemistry between these two characters, which I like. I think it works well, and it does impact positively on the whole show. Just how well they can make these characters interact with each other. But, one point I wanted to... When he's first looking at the RahXephon and Tokyo Jupiter, now, you could think... Or you could think...
I would say you haven't explained what Tokyo... How he sees Tokyo
when
Jupiter.
He sees Tokyo, we did see it in the very first episode, and I believe we mentioned it then.
Yeah, a giant
Tokyo
sphere.
is in a giant sphere which looks like the planet Jupiter.
Which is a weird design decision, don't you think?
Well, it's a notable thing immediately. I mean, they could have gone for a black sphere, but that's sort of ominous, I always think. It's, one sucking in light, like the explosions in Akira or something similar. Just this dome of death, really.
Well, no, I'm not saying it necessarily has to be a different colour. It's just interesting that they decided to make it look like Jupiter. I almost think, is that because Jupiter is very pretty and there exists a lot of reference footage on Jupiter, so you can easily draw it?
Potentially.
And a single block colour is kind of boring.
Yeah, I think, though, if you went for something like single block colour, you'd have a lot more implication. The implication of Jupiter, as well, is alien.
Yeah.
Really.
It ups the alien factor.
Yeah, at this point, it's never been said that the Moolians are alien, but that's what you think when you see the giant planet that they're hiding in. Because they're basically, at this point, they're living in Jupiter, even though it's not actually Jupiter, it's just a smaller representation. It also makes you think, wait, so is Jupiter going to be full of them as well? Do you mean the actual Jupiter?
That's the weird thing, is I don't think we're ever given a reason why it looks like the surface of Jupiter. Apparently,
again, I think this is so niche and out of the way and it doesn't actually affect the plot.
Yeah.
I seem to remember, and I'll bring it up again if it comes up in the episode, that is what it looks like. Time barriers look like that, generally.
Yeah. Barriers of distorted time. Yeah.
Exactly, just look like that, which really heavily implies that Jupiter is one. Really.
Yeah, that does imply it.
It really implies that Jupiter is, in fact, going through a time bubble. Really, the planet underneath might look very different, and that we just have no way of knowing that.
That's a nice influence. I like that. I hadn't thought of that ever.
No, I do think it's quite a cool one, but you never know. You could even have a sequel series where they go to Jupiter and find that it's all full of Mayan and Incan architecture. But
go full on Doctor Who. It's like Mayan and Incans, and they're all secretly bees.
Ah, yes. So yeah, he sees the Tokyo Jupiter now. Like I say, he could have awe, he could have fear, he could have confusion, but we know exactly what he's feeling because there's very dissonant notes to the music. It's just constant. The music here is the key. Really, it's got this dissonance to it. It's got this aggressive thing. It's unpleasant, is what it is. So just from that music, you know what he's feeling. He doesn't have to say anything, and his expression barely changes. He's just staring at it, and what you know is sort of a horror feeling of what is that?
Well, it's because it's so big. He straight up calls it a wall in my version. He says, "What is that huge wall?" And he's
exactly, yeah. So we have Haruka come back, and yes, at this point we have not so much tension, but fine. I'll agree with you with its chemistry here.
And she's properly introduced as well. She finally introduces herself as Haruka Stoll.
Yes, which is quite good.
These two, since we're spending time with these two characters, and this is the point where finally Haruka introduces herself to Ayato. Right? If it's alright, I am just going to talk a little bit about the people who play Ayato Kamina and Haruka Stoll on my side. And in the Japanese voice actor is a man called Hiro Shimono. Now, there's something very interesting about the role he plays. This is his first TV anime role.
Really?
Ever. He was born in April 21st, 1980. And so this was made in 2002. So he was very young when he made this. And he got this TV anime part. Until then, recently he was on a voice actor web series, and so this was his first like proper TV anime role. And he has gone on to play very similar roles to Ayato, sort of the soft-spoken, beautiful boy-looking ones. He played Jin in Kanagi, so he played like the main character in Kanagi, and he started off working very little because I mean his only role in 2002 was RahXephon, but it went on to, as by 2010 he's done loads of things per year, is what I mean. He's Kenima, he's Katsuragi in The World God Only Knows.
Oh, really?
Yep, he's.
I do love that show.
Yep, he's that, and he's something else. Is there anything else that's interesting? Brutus in Nobunaga the Fool. Meh. In Dorara X2, the second season of Dorara, he's Aoba. But not much else that stands out to me. Apologies if you've got fans for other things, but certainly those few roles are very nice. Meanwhile, on
my side of things, yes.
Oh, no, do you want to do Chris Patton? All right.
Oh, sorry. No. Yeah, you carry on.
The other side, but this is nicely contrasted because Haruka Shito, well, he was literally a complete beginner, and you can tell occasionally because sometimes he gives these really flat readings to stuff that really should be quite more, I don't know, have a bit more emotion behind them. The Japanese voice actor for Haruka is Aya Hisakawa, who's an incredibly famous Japanese voice actor. To show the difference in their age, she was born in 1968. So she's, I think by today, she's 46 years old. But
no, you don't mention a woman. Trust me, I've learnt that from experience.
Let's see. At the same time as playing Haruka in 2002, she also played Minamoto Kurosawa in Azumanga. She was Yuko Nakajima in The 12 Kingdoms. She played a role in Tenchi Muyo GXP. She was in Magical Shopping Arcade Abenoshi as Mune Mune. She was in Habane Renmei as Kuramori. So that year alone, she's doing a lot, and really, it's hard to find a famous anime of the last few years that she has not been in. She was Priscilla in Claymore. I'm picking just generally the more famous ones so that people know what to think of. She cut down briefly in 2010, 2011. She was Storm in X-Men, in the 2011 Madhouse version of X-Men. She was Hex in Jormungand, Perfect Order. She was, Milda in JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, Stardust Crusaders. So yeah, she has been in a huge amount of stuff. She's also a very famous pop singer, so, super famous, and as far as I'm concerned, this is an ideal role for her. And she plays it very well, because, of course, Haruka is one where you need the ability to move from kooky to deadly serious very well. And I think Aya Hisakawa does that she's just very good. You can tell that it doesn't feel like two different voices as well. Even though she can do different voices, when she does Haruka's silly voice, you can tell it's Haruka putting on a silly voice, and when she does her serious voice, it sounds like the same person. And I think the ability to play people showing different emotions, what a fundamental ability for an actor. But yeah, that's the best I can do for actors, and how I go, wow, their fundamental ability of an actor is really good. That's the best that I'm always able to do. Yeah. Plus, acting is so reliant on so many other things.
So, conversely, the Haruka for the English cast is Monica Rao.
Yes!
You mentioned in the first series, in the first ever podcast we did, yeah. First part we did.
Of course, you have feelings about Monica Rao.
The thing is, I really quite like her Haruka Shito. I do.
I remember her playing Haruka Shito when I watched this for the first time, and I think she's very, very good at it. Yeah.
I know she absolutely is. She's got the range. She can do the sort of cutesy, the childishness. She can do the adult seriousness. She can do the emotion behind it all. It's all fine. The thing is, I mentioned last time Cynthia, who was playing Asahina.
Yeah.
And her high-pitched, irritating, very American-style voice there. Yeah. And now, Monica Rao can do that, and has done that quite a lot.
That's basically what you think of when you think of Monica Rao. You particularly.
It is. That's the problem. And the thing is, when doing research for this, I did scroll through her list, and I was just like, wow, that's a series I watched, and that's a character I didn't actually mind. You had RahXephon, you had Haruka, that was fair enough. But you also had, in Elfen Lied, she was the small child, and again, the thing is, it's when she plays a small child. Because she seems to believe the small child means that you need the high-pitched voice and you need to actually break people's eardrums.
Yeah, she was Kanae in Elfin Lied.
Yes, exactly. But I think this and a few of her other roles, such as she was in Gunslinger Girl, she was in Full Metal Panic as well as the best friend of the main character with the glasses. I can't remember her name now.
Mm-hmm. She plays Sayaka in Danganronpa. Does Monica Rao? You'd
have to remind me who Sayaka is.
The idol character.
In the first or second game?
First game.
First game. God, it's been a while since I played it. But no, I was also looking through and just going, wow, Shuffle. She was Asa in Shuffle, who was my favourite of the Shuffle characters. There's quite a lot you go through and you go, wow, I didn't realise she did so many really well done roles. And it's because I have this prejudice of her, of being the one who annoyed me in so many sort of when she's doing high pitch. But I think it's also, the thing is, she was at a lot of conventions that we've been to. She's very much one to be happy to come over to the UK and be there. Amicon in particular, she was there at least 3 or 4 of the years that we were there. And when she's doing voices for that was when she went super high pitch. She did. Do you remember Chair Chan? There was a year of Amicon where they invented a character who was a chair, and Monica Real was the voice of this chair, and it was the most high-pitched voice you will ever find. So it was a chair that would make you wish you were deaf. But no, I think this series really does make me go, no. Monica Real, perfectly valid voice actress, perfectly valid choice, very good in certain roles. I really wish she took a certain part of her repartee and just fenced it off, kept it away.
Stop doing
Certainly.
Kids. If you want to feel
basically, yeah, but don't give them to Cynthia either, because I'm sure, I haven't looked through her, but I'm sure this Cynthia who's doing Asahina would also be perfectly fineable if she wasn't deliberately putting on that sort of voice.
I think we did look through Cynthia's roles, and she has done other things.
Exactly. I don't remember them, but she did. I certainly remember them being, some quite good information there.
Still, moving away from things to get you on a death list. Let's talk about Chris.
Hey, I was positive. I was very, very positive. Okay?
Yeah, but you're sort of backhanded positiveness. I mean, sort of when she's not being a fool, she's a really good actually. When she's not sounding like a deadly earworm that threatens to eat your brain.
No, I'm not trying to get any Monica Rao fans to be angry at me, and I'm saying that she's very good. I'm just saying that there are certain roles that I'm very happy she's done, and certain roles that I think aren't positive. I think that they might make people think less of her, and would probably be best to avoid them.
You're an actor, man. You don't have a choice of these sort of things. You just take the roles you can get.
Yeah, true. And I suppose if the director says, you're not breaking my wine glass, why aren't you breaking my wine glass? There's not a lot she can do about it.
That is exactly the thing, and has caused trouble with anime voice actors in the past, that people have blamed them for their readings, and they said, that's what the director told me to do.
Yeah, exactly.
I forget his name, and I'm not going to waste time looking it up, but the gentleman who originally dubbed Hiro Yui for Gundam Wing, everyone said, oh, you play him so emotionlessly, and he's like, well, that's what I was told to do. And he got so pissed off that he refuses to talk about that role now, and he doesn't play him in any later stuff.
Yeah.
So I try and avoid that, I think. Anyway, but either way, Monica Rao, very good as Haruka, and I wholly agree. Chris Patton.
I think, he's very good as Ayato. I do like him here. He was doing quite a lot of these sort of roles when I was in this sort of period of my life when I first started watching RahXephon. Because it was things like, he was also Sosuke Sagara in Full Metal Panic.
Yep.
He was Joshiro Nishi in Gantz, which is probably my favourite character in Gantz as well.
He's the original,
all of these... Sorry?
He was the original Greed.
Yes, he was the original Greed. He was also in Chrono Crusade
Full Metal
as
Panic?
Joshua. Full Metal Panic, he's the main character in Full Metal Panic.
Yeah, you said
yes,
that, didn't you?
In all 3 of them, yes. So this is someone who really was in a lot of things I was listening to at the time, and almost always the main character as well. Which, and you can hear when you hear his performance in any of these why he's picked that. He's got a really good voice for all these sort of roles, and it's not even typecast. He can do quite a wide variety of them as well. So, and we are going to get to hear him scream fairly often as this show goes on, I think.
You are.
True. I'm just going to have to relay to you how often he's screaming. But yeah, no. Who was the person who in Gantz played the? He plays the antagonist of the final arc, and when we were watching, we went to an event with him, and he was saying, one of the hardest parts about this role was when my character was set on fire, and the director said, just imagine for a moment how you would sound like if you were on fire. And that's the performance I tried to give.
Well, yeah, so, that's what happens.
Exactly, yeah, you can just, it's like...
By the way, whoever directed that episode, what class directing. Imagine being on fire.
But it's the same, imagine going into work and they go, how would you sound like if I'd ripped your arm off in front of you and I was a vampire? And they went, oh, that's a very good point. I'd probably scream like this. But moving away from the voice actors now, if that's okay?
Yeah, that's all right. I just wanted to acknowledge them because they're very important.
Oh, no, they're very good. They're very important.
And
I have no issue.
I think this is a very nice... The reason why this is such an enjoyable show is that the two... very important characters are both audio dubbings.
Yes,
are all very, very good. Especially, and it's especially shocking, of course, for Hiro Shimono, because despite the occasional lapse, I think he is very good. Like I said, that really sarcastic reading he gave in the first episode of "Oh, thank you very much for saving my life." Yeah, that was so teenagery. I love that.
Yeah,
but yeah. Well, so moving on, they eventually increase the sort of the sexual chemistry. Ayato knocks Haruka into the water.
Yes, but doesn't just knock her in. He knocks her in off a boat and then dives to protect her. Literally jumps, wraps his arms around her and ends up with his face in her ass. Which is very specifically shown for several seconds.
They do cut and slow down to look him go, oh, bum. And I'm like, oh,
it's just like, right in my face, man, right in my face. And then dive, they fall into the water. I'm not entirely sure what he thought he was going to do. This is the thing, when someone's falling off the boat into the water, you can try and pull them back in, but jumping off the boat to grab them doesn't really help. Mm. But, it's youthful frustration, isn't it? And it's wanting to help, but not quite sure how, and just working on your instincts.
People often do roll their eyes at this sort of thing, and I admit I was sort of like, ugh, when his face was in her, but in her ear the whole time.
It's a little fan servicey, which this show isn't particularly... explicit with either.
Apart
it's
from
not
Quan.
A criminal. We can talk about Quan when she turns up.
We can talk about Quan when she turns up. Well, she has turned up, but we can talk about Quan when she turns up more. But I'd say for as much naked Quan as there's plenty of naked Ayato. This show doesn't...
There's a lot of naked Ayato.
This show does not stay away from showing Ayato in the buff, which is nice.
And is it not amazing how amazingly buff one can get by painting and doing very little exercise?
Well, maybe that's sort of the way he was bred to pilot the Zephon, wasn't he? He was built to pilot.
In the end, there is nothing more attractive than a protagonist.
Well, there is. It's a protagonist that's as slim and buff as Ayato Kamina.
But anyway, so on falling in the water, it's very apparent then that they'll need new clothes. Which is a great excuse of why you can go into a room,
mall.
Yeah, a broken down mall, and try and find some new clothes. This gives us a bit of opportunity, such as a threadbare curtain that Ayato can try to avoid, but also kind of try and look at her changing through.
Yeah. Well, after he's changed into the most overwrought JoJo's Bizarre Adventure cosplay I have ever seen.
He changes into a purple flares cardigan with a big star on it. The whole thing's pink and purple themed, and he does look like he was rejected by the 70s and told to go away and come back in 40 years.
I was thinking, you haven't read this or watched this, but yes, the moment I saw this, I pointed out, I was like, JoJo! He is dressing exactly like the main characters, specifically from the second chapter of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. I can narrow it down to chapter. That's how much...
The thing I'd like to point out here, right? I know artists. Yeah. I am friends with several artists. Ayato Kamina is an artist. This has been well established. He's a painter. He's a painter who understands how colours work, how they work together, how this stuff. We've seen him dress in Tokyo, and he's in a t-shirt with the colours working. He's in trousers. He's all perfectly reasonable.
He looks
seen
all right.
Him in casual clothes. We've seen him with his friends. Why does he pick this?
It does seem weird that he picks this, and then
because he picks this, and also it's proven because as soon as he comes out, Haruka just looks and goes, "You're changing. You are f***ing changing right now. That is just
in
awful."
more when she straight up says cut. She straight up says rejected.
Yeah, Exactly, and just makes him go and try other ones on. At which point he picks a perfectly reasonable outfit!
Yeah, well, no, I get the idea that Haruka gets to dress him
Yes,
in this one.
yes. But the thing is, my point is, regardless of whether Haruka picked it or he did, there was a perfectly reasonable outfit next to your ridiculous clothing. And you took one look and went, no, as an artist, I feel that this is the most appropriate one.
Yeah, it's a bit off.
She manages to look perfectly normal and finds an outfit that is completely reasonable and well-dressed.
I felt she looked a bit like she stepped out of Trigun, actually, with that big long skirt.
I don't have a problem with that. I rather like Trigun.
Oh, no, I have no problem with that. But yeah, it felt to me like she was sort of, it's a background character from Trigun.
See, now that they've got their clothes sorted and they are in a mall, they might as well pick up some food. So they end up going shopping. Now, this is the first of several scenes where it's a date. It's a date or it's a couple who are living their normal lives. And I rather like that.
They do have like this weird, despite the fact that they're sort of alone in this empty city. Yeah, they have this very sort of comfortable situation with each other, which is nice.
Yeah, they are a couple shopping. They're wandering around with a trolley together, picking food, chatting about what's good, what's not. And this is also
time dilation.
Yes, this is the time dilation hints. Now, one thing, I realise that we've established that Ayato isn't curious. We established this fairly early on. He doesn't care, he's not really asking what's going on, and he doesn't ask that much, but he does ask a few questions. Now, Haruka categorically isn't telling him anything. It's like, what is that? Oh, that's your entire world up until now. And you go, right.
Explanation.
There should be more. There should be more. Haruka seems to think that exposition is a valuable resource that's completely limited, and if she tells him anything, then she might run out of things she's able to say. It's very odd how incredibly in the dark she keeps him at this point, really. But yes, again, it's a case of he looks at the best before date, says, this date, it's still in date. She says, oh no, you don't know, and doesn't let him take the food. Doesn't explain it.
She doesn't explain how, the reason he can't take the food is because of the time dilation. Yeah. It is now 2024. They do say that later on in the episode. This is what she's hiding from him, and then she eventually says later that it's 2024, not 2015.
Exactly. At which point, that was the perfect time to mention it. However, so they go around, they do the shopping, and then it cuts to them being at night.
Being at night, eating the stuff that they've collected.
So they've gone out, they've spent, like, at least the afternoon and evening together and all this. He's looked at it. It's at least been an hour and a journey to then get back to it. And no point does she even bother to try and explain this. Also, she then manages to get the radio working and listens to them announcing how the Olympic Games of 2020 had previously happened. And this confuses Ayato. And this is when she finally goes, yeah, maybe I know. No, I'm still not going to tell him anything.
What's also good is, do you notice where the new Olympics is going to be set for the 2024 Olympics?
No, I didn't.
In my one, it said the 2024 Olympics in Kabul.
Yes, I think they did say that, yeah.
Which I find is quite a nice positive thing to mention, that Kabul gets the Olympics, because of course Kabul is the capital city of...
I didn't study for this test.
Okay, Kabul is the capital city of Afghanistan.
Ah!
So I think that's very nice to show in 2024, bad things may be happening, we may be fighting against extra-dimensional aliens, and Japan
but
may
at
be
least there's
pretty
no
much...
more war in Afghanistan.
Well, at least Afghanistan is capable enough of hosting the Olympics, and I like that, especially considering how bad Afghanistan is in real world 2015.
You really should... Yeah, we should clarify that, how bad it would be to be in Afghanistan, not how bad Afghanistan is. Afghanistan isn't a mustache-twirling villain at this point.
No, yes, it is bad to be in Afghanistan these days.
Yes, yeah.
Which
Just
is a real
to
shame.
clarify that.
Which, if I may get political, it is always a real shame because Afghanistan, if you look at it, was literally blessed by all of the world's sort of mineral depositing gods, and yet has been treated horribly by everyone else, because everyone's just striving to nick them from her. So I've always felt bad for Afghanistan in world history. But in the world history of RahXephon, Afghanistan seems okay. It's hosting the Olympics. Not like, it doesn't mean that you're the world's greatest country, but hey, you're at least running yourself properly if you can host the Olympics.
You're at least stable with an infrastructure.
If you can host the Olympics. So good for fictional Afghanistan, and I wanted to bring that up.
That should be our motto. Go, fictional Afghanistan!
Go, fictional Afghanistan! You're
you
all
go, girl. Anyway, so this again would be a fantastic time to tell him that.
She does, doesn't she?
No, she doesn't. This is when Ayata then turns and goes, "Are you?" No, she says the year is 2024.
And he goes, "Are you from the future?
Are you from the future?"
You're a time traveler.
She pisses herself laughing. Now she laughs at him because of this, but
because it's ridiculous.
That's a perfectly reasonable question.
Yeah.
Look, if you think it's 2015, and then you go in a giant robot and you disappear, and these are people who seem to have a lot of technology and everything, you then reappear and are told that the year is 2024. Yeah, frankly, that should be your first reaction of, so did you come back in time and pick me up and take me here? No, that's a reasonable question. And I do not feel he deserves the outright mocking he gets because of this.
I don't know, I think it's funny. Again, I think it makes them look comfortable with each other. She's sort of laughing at him because, of course, from her perspective, of course she's not a time traveller. In her perspective,
that would be ridiculous.
In her perspective, she's actually sort of saved him from an enemy country.
Yeah, she's pulled him out of a war zone, really. They then decide that they're going to have some tea. She might give him a little exposition, but not too much. It's a first date. You don't want to go too far. And there's quite a nice bit of bonding between the two of them in this scene as well, with conversations about oneself and how happy they are that they're not currently getting shot. You know? But, however, all this bonding and tea isn't enough to keep a man. She should really have taken lessons about that. Men are from Jupiter, women are from Tokyo Venus. But, anyway, so yes, she then finds in the morning that he's gone and left a note. Which, as a spy, really
dropped the ball there.
Yeah.
Because she introduces herself actually at the end to gives her exact rank, and I'm like, wow, come on, man.
She's a captain, and she's a spy. She is a captain spy. At which point she lets a 17-year-old sneak out. And I realise she's not been a parent, so she won't be used to the whole 17-year-old sneaking out thing. But still, come on.
Yeah.
They're sleeping next to one another. Did you really? And on a boat as well. Are you telling me that she doesn't notice him leaving the boat? She's pretty bad at this whole spy thing.
Yep.
Anyway, so yeah, she then goes to look for him, but he's off having weird conversations with his mother via a phone. He finds that a payphone randomly rings and his mother's voice is there. And this is rather remnant?
This reminds you of?
Yes, this reminds us of the scene where he's having the phone call with Mishima.
Yes.
And again, I think this is one of the other sort of resonances between the two. They do have a lot in common, I think, the whole Mishima mother thing here. Really.
I don't know. I think, we both know what Mishima turns out to be, so it's a bit hard for me to see that as a...
Well, no, what I'm saying here is that what you've got Mishima is controlling him. He's a woman in his life who's telling him where to go, what to do, and also can psychically talk to him and fly, both of which they can do.
That's the sort of thing that I think is just par and parcel for...
being weird ethereal
being weird
things.
super robot aliens, you know.
Yeah, alright, fine.
But I do think this is mysterious because, of course, how on earth is she getting this? How on earth is she contacting him? But she does seem to have difficulty understanding him as she talks to him. And as she is talking to him, she eventually heard, at least in my audio track, it just descended into weird, deliberately faux Mayan sounding gibberish.
It's Latin, I think, in the English.
In Latin,
Yeah, but no, I think the thing is though, it's not quite implied whether is his mother even communicating with him. Maybe
it is. It's the same voice actress.
Oh, certainly, it's the same voice actress. Yes, but I mean, is it actually the character managing to psychically get her voice out there? Is it her not psychically getting her voice out there with a phone? Is it that... I mean, she does ring the phone right next to where he is. There's certainly some creepy, trippy stuff going on at this point.
Well, I think, again, because all of the stuff she says is to make him doubt these new people that he will meet. Or the people that are involved with Haruka.
Yes, she tells him... We should probably go into the content of the call... that he shouldn't trust anyone, they're going to try and use him, they're going to lie to him, they're all evil.
They're going to make you forget me. Ooh.
Yeah.
In a way, again, this is... we're going back to leaving your mother behind. Sort of, don't forget your mother when you leave into the world.
Yeah, and then you get the phone call from home. And then he runs away from the phone, leaving it swinging off the hook. So, after running a bit further, he reaches the barrier for Tokyo Jupiter. which unfortunately isn't something you can go and touch, because that would be interesting if you go and try and touch it. No, there's a 10k gap between you and the barrier.
Super sure.
Yeah, nobody can go near that. And also, it seems to be a 10k gap cut quite efficiently. It's not like it's a cordon done by the military or any sort of thing. It does seem like, for 10 kilometres, it's just been sheer shaved off by an energy source.
Yeah, it's like the Moo have done this.
Yes, the Moo have done, because there's bits like girders sticking out of the ground that have just sliced exactly across in a curvature. So, at this point, he decides he's going to go and shout at the moon, which in this case is shouting at the giant Tokyo Jupiter sphere.
Yeah.
About how he can't go back. At which point Haruka finds him, due to her, psychic protagonist location sense, which she does have. She found him fairly well.
She's a spy. Yeah.
I know she's a spy.
Finding people's alright.
She then turns up and says to him, "Oh, you want to go back then?" He's like, "Yeah, I've got my family in there. I mean, of course I want to go back." She goes, "You can't do that."
Yeah.
Clearly, it's been demonstrated that the RahXephon can go in and out. Clearly, it's been demonstrated that we have, ships that can go in and out.
Well, she did say it would take it took us a huge amount of energy to get in.
Yeah, I know. So we're not going to do it for you. Yeah, no, I completely agree that she's legitimately telling him there isn't a feasible way he can go back at this time, really. And he should really get his act together and prepare for life on the outside. But this is when... I quite like this next bit, because it's essentially... She's cycled up to him, and he decides he's going to stay with her, and tells her to get on the bike. "Shut up, woman, get on my bike," it is a case of. But she then says, "I've got strong legs." He then replies with, "So do I." I mean, this is quite nice, because it's him trying to get a position of equal standing with her, I think. Up until this point, it's been her guiding him, it's been her saying what we do, what you don't do.
What makes you think that?
Well, she offers, "I'll cycle, I'll take us back." And he goes, No, I'll do it. I will cycle both of us.
I don't know, that to me seems like the sort of person you just want to be able to make one decision so you can have some sort of feeling of control of your life, because he's just been ripped away from his home and...
Well, no, exactly. I'm not trying to take too much into this that there isn't, but I'm saying it's a nice thing that he does decide that he's going to be the one that cycles. He's going to do the pedalling here.
Yeah.
He's not just going to rely on her to take him round.
And she gets to sort of snuggle against his back and sort of...
And again, second moment of coupliness.
When you learn more about Haruka, because, I mean, I remember watching this for the first time, and just she's being really close to him, considering...
Really clingy, yeah. She's very, very clingy for here.
And indeed, if you're watching this show for the first time, you probably are sort of like, why aren't these guys mentioning how weird it is, how clingy Haruka is? And then, when you learn a bit more, this totally changes. And that's why RahXephon is great to watch a second time. This becomes an incredibly cute scene, once you've seen the whole season again, and not a creepy, "Why is this 29-year-old woman feeling up this 17-year-old boy?" scene.
Yes. But anyway, the point is, it's nice, but it's reminiscent of a couple who live together, who are on a date, something similar to that. And on arriving back, they hear movement. Haruka goes into full spy mode, pulls out her gun, and finds that there is a kitty! Kitty! Ugly cat. I love cats.
I'm glad you agreed with me, because that's the first thing I was going to bring up. That's the ugliest...
it's an ugly cat.
I was like, wow, it's the ugliest cat I have ever seen.
I know. But yes, Haruka, this is a thing that I think is very much worth mentioning about Haruka's character, and we're practically at the end of the episode, so actually I'll just leave it till then. But no, they find this cat, they end up at a point where Haruka's like, "Can we keep him?" Hayata's a bit nonplussed by this, because Haruka immediately just defers to him. "Can we the item, keep him, the cat?"
Yeah.
Again, it's a massive thing of them being a couple. It's from the minute they get outside, they're a couple. They're a couple in isolation, but they are together in more ways than just someone who's basically kidnapped him or rescued him. I mean, if you got taken out of your city by someone, you wouldn't have this immediate connection, this immediate chemistry, and you wouldn't behave like this, but they slip perfectly into one another's comfort zones straight away.
And this, when you're watching it the first time, is actually kind of weird.
It's a bit disconcerting.
Yeah, it's something sort of... It's a mystery, again, another mystery to be filed away for later in the larger plot. Why are these two people so comfortable with each other?
They are perfectly in sync straight away. They then start to head to bed, playing with the cute, in inverted commas, little kitty they've found, and are feeding.
And she hears a plane.
Yeah, and decides to burn down all the forests.
Well, no, she decides to burn down the boat, which I know what the reason she's burning down the boat is to create signal fire, so they know to where to send the ship. But I couldn't help thinking of, shit, they're here. I've got to burn all of the evidence that I was sleeping around with this 17-year-old boy. Otherwise, it's the jailhouse for me.
Yeah, exactly. No, it does seem like she is destroying all the evidence, because she frankly could have burned any of the other boats that they weren't sleeping in and keeping all their stuff in. There's a lot of other boats around.
Indeed, and it does take until morning for the boat to arrive.
Yes.
The lift to arrive.
So they are just standing staring at the ocean for the next 8 hours or so.
Yeah. But sort of like, at least they don't have the... At least they don't have the evidence of my infidelity.
You see, I think the main reason that it's their boat is the symbolism of destroying where they live. I mean, it is only for a day, but for a day they've lived together as a couple. And they're staying there together, and then suddenly it's the real world is calling, and she burns down the place that they've been together.
Mm-hmm.
So you can read a bit too much into that, I'm sure, but I quite liked the symbolism of burning it down.
Mm.
At which point she introduces herself, as you say, as Captain RahXephon, Intelligence Officer of Terra, which is the first time we hear the name. Is it Terra in yours?
Terra, yeah. They say Terra, even though it's spelt oddly.
Is it?
Oh, no, it's not spelt oddly. Sorry, that's something I'm going to bring up for our end of the episode thing. But yeah.
Well,
and
we've reached the end of the episode.
We've reached the end of the episode. Now, I would like to make a statement of this. I think, with a bit of editing and a bit of more careful writing, you could have achieved all of this in 2 episodes. These first 3 episodes.
Really?
I think that it is unnecessary to have... I know why they did. Probably because of pressure, because you can't have your giant robot cartoon have a whole first episode where we don't even at least see the giant robot.
Yeah.
But I get the feeling they probably wanted to have all this time to properly flesh out Ayato's world within Tokyo Jupiter, so that when we take it out, we experience the same sense of loss that he has. I was sort of like,
agree.
So it's not going to take place here. And I remember this feeling when I first watched the episode of, oh my goodness, you know,
it's
so we're
completely different.
It's completely different from what I was kind of going along with, and I was sort of like, oh, I see, so that's how it's going. I mean, I had this feeling of, clearly they're in this isolated world, and maybe he's probably going to be forced out of it. But you didn't get this, you really got this sense of loss with those 2 episodes, but I do get the feeling they could have easily cut those first 2 episodes into 1 episode, if they just moved around the sequence of events a bit. And have...
I think the thing is, though, there are two RahXephon-based events in the first 2 episodes. There is the...
That you could have merged into one.
Yes, exactly. You could have had him for the first time. For example, say that when he first encounters Haruka and she saves him, and then he runs away from her onto the subway train. Now, have Haruka, like as soon as he jumps on the train, the shutter's shut, have her break the window of another carriage and jump on. So she's on the train, or jump onto the carriage and just hold onto the back or something similar. She ends up coming with him, at which point he and Mishima can then walk slowly towards the Shrine of Ra, and she can be on the back and just be a bit behind him. Then have the egg crack, he goes in the RahXephon, and then she's there, his mother can still turn up. Yes, you're absolutely right. The bits where they went, okay, so now...
And all this can happen later. The attack can happen later on in the first episode. Spend a good 15 of the first episode having a normal day, and on his way back is when we have the train crash.
Yes, no, exactly.
But that said,
I do agree with you.
Animation is a fiddly thing.
Yeah.
Saying, they should have done it this way. I'm not sure you could do it in 2 episodes rather than 3. I do think... The thing is, I think the 3rd episode needs to be this long. I do. Oh, no, yeah, I think you could pretty much keep the 3rd episode as it is, but I think those 2 episodes, with a bit less sticking around, and maybe with a bit of cutting of the 3rd episode, you could cut a bit of panning around and silence. And
you could certainly knock a couple of minutes out of the bits where they're together as a couple.
Yeah.
There is a couple
I don't want to
lose
all of that, because that's important.
No. It's very important, and it's nice to have the chemistry, and it's also this sense of isolation and loss, I think is very good. But you could cut a couple of minutes out of that, lengthen slightly the opening stuff when he's still Tokyo. But I'm just sort of looking at my episode 2 here, my notes now. Yeah, there really isn't that much that isn't... We said this at the time, actually. Yeah. The 2nd episode is mostly the re-establishment of the stuff from the 1st episode.
Yeah.
Like Haruka... turning up again to go, oh, now you need to come and meet me in the park. No, just go with her the first time. Oh, you've got Mishima being all mysterious and ethereal by the whole thing of going to school the next day and the phone call wouldn't have happened. But hell, you had her being creepy and mysterious enough in the first place anyway.
Exactly.
You have his mother doing all the controlling stuff. You have the Dolums start up, then they go back, then start up again. Yeah, you're right. We really could have had these tightened up to the point where there could have been one episode. But I in no way mind that they were extra. I think fleshing out Tokyo for 2 episodes does mean that loss is there compared to the 1.
Yeah, I can't help but feel, with a bit of extra work, and that's the problem, it's always a race against time, so they probably just didn't have the time. You could have worked that in and saved a whole episode for something else.
I will disagree with you here. I think I like the way it was done. I think that having him go there twice, maybe not essential, but I do think that staying in Tokyo for 2 episodes was the right decision, and certainly going and having the normalcy after the fight, after the invasion, having, wait, what? Everything's back to normal? No one seems to care? I think that's important, to see that all the people other than Ayato just go right back to the normal everyday lives without even worrying about it.
I don't think we've seen that, actually.
Yeah, we did. When he's like, why is the news just saying this?
Oh, that.
Why
right,
are my friends in school completely unfazed that there was a fucking train crash yesterday?
Yeah.
Yeah, all this sort of stuff.
I get you there.
So yeah, I think that's needed. Now, talking about the 3rd episode, though, I think, talking about Haruka as a character, there's this wonderful dichotomy of her personality of adult and child.
I don't think it's a dichotomy. Because don't you think dichotomy means opposed? Are you sure you just don't mean duality?
Oh, alright, fine, I'll stick with duality here. Yes, this dual nature to her. She's not an adult with, certain preferences or influences. She's not a child who happens to be... She's not a big kid.
Yeah.
Definitely not. She's a professional. She's very professional when she needs to be. She's also very skilled at her job. I mean, hell, she's quite young to be where she is, that we find out at the end. The rank she is, and also the one person to send in, really, to Tokyo.
If I may say, I always find that's kind of interesting, because she is, literally, if you would say, as a high-ranking intelligence agent, yes, she actually is. 29 is very young for that. But in the world of anime, she's actually quite old.
Anime, fine. This is one thing I like about this show, though, is the characters' ages. She's 29, he's 17. 17 is the absolute border of young, I think, where it can be legitimate that they're making adult decisions in a sensible way.
I don't know. I remember when I was 18 or 19, I was still a bit of an idiot even then.
No, I completely agree with you. But my point is that it's complete... You can understand some people at 17 would at least be okay enough to, make these sort of decisions. But he at least acts childishly occasionally, and it's fine. But my point is that normally he's old for a protagonist. 14, 15 is usual.
Yeah, for a Super Robot show, you generally have much younger people. Yeah.
She's actually of an age. She's not in her 30s, because the moment you're in your 30s, you are one of those characters who can't interact. You're a supervisor, or you're an adult.
Again, I'd say that's very cruel. 30 is still quite young.
No, I'm agreeing with you. What I'm saying is that it's bloody stupid that you can't be 30 or above and not be immediately shunted into the parent category or the older superior category.
You're
really.
Very true, and it isn't very nice at all. Yeah.
The thing is, you don't normally get that many people in their 20s in this. Actually, it was done very well in Mugen Souls. If you've ever played the game Mugen Souls, there is a character who is an old man, and he wanders around going, "This old man will do this old man will do that." After you've played about 2/3 of the game, someone actually turns to him and goes, "Do you know what? How old are you? Because it's never been said." And he goes, "Oh, this old man is 27. And that is how people are treated in anime.
That is, and that was a good joke in Mugen Souls. I like that.
Exactly. And I am not over the hill for being over 27. I'd like to make that clear.
Yeah.
Anime.
Yes, indeed. Well, that's what's nice. RahXephon doesn't do that, isn't there? Are plenty of people in their late 20s, which is still really young, but still, people in their late 20s, which in the world of anime, especially in the world of anime today, is becoming a rarity, and that ain't cool.
The thing is, one, she's a good candidate for infiltration because she's of an age where she's young, fit and healthy, but also experienced, and she's about the perfect age to infiltrate, really. And you do want her to be taking all of the steps needed. But I always appreciate characters who are trained far more than I appreciate characters who are supernaturally good at things for no real reason.
Yeah. Well, she clearly works at everything.
Better. Oh yeah, she's worked bloody hard to get to her position. You know that because you can tell from her professional nature. But I think here, you get the feeling she's had to grow up too quickly. Because as soon as she can, she's got this childish nature emerges. You know, once she feels safe and comfortable, suddenly she's like, "Oh, the kitty, can we keep him?" Or, you know, exactly.
Let's dress up this gentleman who I'm with in slightly better
clothes.
You've
You've got quite a lot of moments here where you get to know her character of this duality of professional, adult, everything super serious and all ready to do what needs to be done. And then you've got the one that isn't the pragmatic adult, the child who's there, a sense of wonder. I mean, she basically, maybe it's because he's the same age as she's acting, but she does act at his age, just, you know, mirroring his style. And you do get the feeling that it's basically she feels comfortable with him and she can really let her hair down, so to speak, even though her hair is incapable of being let down. It's quite short. But yeah,
just to come out of a stressful situation, it makes sense. So.
Exactly. So I like that. I like the adult-child duality of her character here.
And indeed, the whole greater part of this episode is a character piece to show both Hakura in a broader sense, rather than just being the cool spy, and also for Ayato for his sense of loss. And it certainly gets that across very well. I think that's like the major story in this. Ayato coming to understand exactly what's happened to him. And Haruka, meanwhile, sort of finally being able to sort of go, "Oh, that's that operation done with. I can sort of act kind of normal now."
Yeah, she can relax. Now, the other thing, just before we move on to the next episode, that I've got down is, I think this is also the point, it's only at the very beginning, but it's another point we see of the RahXephon versus the Dolums. Now, it's the whole...
kicks ass.
I know, it's the Worf thing from Star Trek, really. We know Worf kicks ass. So when someone turns up who kicks Worf's ass, they kick ass. And we get this thing of, the Dolum. First we get, I'm military. Then we get, but I'm technology military, and we destroy you without any real effort, of the invaders destroying the defenders. Then we have the Dolum turn up and go, "Oh, I'm sorry, you can't put a dent in me. We're going to destroy all of your new technology invaders." And then the RahXephon turns up and goes, "The Dolum, which has been established as more powerful than the thing that we already know is quite powerful, and therefore is quite powerful. I'm even more powerful than that. I can break that without any real effort at all."
Well, I don't think this is going to be a big thing to say because of the kind of show that this is, but the RahXephon does not exist to have trouble fighting enemies. The RahXephon kind of exists to beat the enemies. I think it gets scratched about once. I mean, it got singed in this episode from the beam from Fortassimo. That is about as bad as it ever gets for the RahXephon.
Yeah, there's never any real sign of damage.
Yeah.
Unless it's major plot point, there's not really a point where the RahXephon's like, "A Dolum?" It's not, again, Evangelion is usually the easiest thing to compare this with. And
no, that's the thing. I would say now this is one of the good reasons to say that it is not like Evangelion at all, and that RahXephon is a lot like it's the thing that it is based very closely upon, which is Brave Raideen.
I wasn't saying that it was the same, I was just saying it's a good comparison here.
I don't think it is, because the whole point of Evangelion was indeed puzzle enemies that everyone had to come together and almost beat.
Yeah, that's what my point is, that in Evangelion, you had entire episodes which were, the enemy has turned up, we've got an angel is here, we need to work out how to fight it, and it's going to be a bloody struggle, and we're all going to work together, we'll just about come out on top. And it's completely different to that, because it is just a case of the RahXephon goes, "There's a Dolum," someone call Ayato, Ayato goes, Ayato punches it once, and then, "It's One Punch Man!" That's really what it is here.
Well,
Ayato turns up with his overpowered mech, hits it once, and then goes home for tea.
Well, it does remind me of Star Driver, actually, a later one that would turn up, which I think, I forget who made it, but Star Driver, again, had that thing where the main character pretty much just turns up and wins. And if there's a problem, generally the main character will go, "Oh, time to pull out that other thing that I can do," and that will allow it to win. That was
another thing of, he's untrained. Yes, he's the Olin, and therefore, you probably think he's been trained from birth or whatever. He hasn't actively been trained. Because he knows how to pilot it instinctively. That's it. If you're looking at him, basically what he does is he walks up to the Dolums, or flies up to them, sticks his hand in their throat, and rips it out. That's how he beats it. He just sticks his hand through the throat and crushes its windpipe equivalent, and essentially rips off the head.
Well, again, I would say this is part and parcel of a super robot show. In that the main character, the child, is made to use the robot that their parent has made. The one nice twist in this case, it's the robot that his mother has made. Or has prepared for him, perhaps would be a better way to say.
Yes, there's no implication about who made RahXephon or why or how really at this point, other than it was probably the Moo. Yeah, no, I do think that it's not here as a show to watch a man struggle violently with his robot against the other robots in the same way that Gurren Lagann or Evangelion, where the bulk of the program is you watching them in the robot fighting the monster, and the monster's better at first, but they come out on top at the end. It's not like that. It is just a case of what? Oh, the robot. Oh, we need to use it. There's a dolem. I guess we'll stop all of our character stuff and our out of robot things. Just go and do that, and then come back. And he literally like steps out of the room and then comes back and goes, "As I was saying, sorry about that." It's basically like he's nipping to the loo.
Yes.
Frankly.
Well, what the robots represent, because I think they are important in RahXephon, is not weapons of war per se, but art. You remember the picture not the picture, but the image of Mishima standing with the wings behind her? Yeah?
Yeah.
There you go. Have a look at that.
Alright.
That is called The Large Family.
Okay, you're putting a link to this on the cast, by the way.
Yeah. That's why it's there.
Yeah.
So there's a scene in episode 1 that we mentioned, where Mishima stands in front of a pair of wings that show two different horizons.
Yes.
And it looks like they're her wings. And this is a deliberate reference to the noted surrealist artist René Magate's Les Grandes Familles, which shows the sky, showing a clear sky through the silhouette of a dove.
And there is a link to this picture if you want to look at it.
We will put a link to this picture in the show notes so you can look at it, and I will also put a link to the actual picture of Mishima as well. Now, there are a lot of references actually to the French surrealism movement throughout this, but I think mostly through the idea of RahXephon and the dolems, in that there are these artistic things that are created to affect the world, and the French surrealists wanted, through revolution, to affect the world through the subconscious, and they want to do it through revolution. And this one, it's the whole idea that will start turning up is the idea of reforming the world to better suit people through these machines, which are they are artistic implements more than weapons of war, because they sing at each other and they're all very beautiful and they're clearly sort of sculpturesque and they have human-like faces. And I think the idea of changing the world through art is something that is the focus of all of these robots in RahXephon, rather than as machines of war, which is what what robots are often used to represent. They represent advances in machines of war, whereas in this version, they're cultural influence. But in this case, cultural influence means going, so well that you can smash buildings.
Yes, or break people's other giant robots. So, I think art might have interested me more if you could put two paintings alongside one another and then they just fired lasers until one of them was destroyed.
But that is what they are doing in this one. And
yes.
Again, it's not too surprising because the director was an art director for most of his life.
It's a good theme. I think it's a good theme and it comes off well and it's well done in the show.
But that's the point, is that RahXephon represents this peak idea of influencing the world through art, and the dolems are, of course, less perfect, and they cannot stand up to RahXephon.
Well, they're clay
from the get-go,
rather than if you look at them, they look a lot softer than the material.
Indeed,
of
they're sort of clay or flesh, as you said as well, maybe in a way.
Yeah.
If we can move on to Terra, because we get introduced to Terra right at the end of this episode, and there is one thing I want to bring up about Terra, which is kind of interesting. Do you know that Terra is an acronym?
I think I did, but I don't know what it's for.
Well, it's supposed to be an acronym in Esperanto.
Oh, really?
And it's supposed to be Terreno Imperio Rapimova Reacti Armano, which is supposed to mean the Earth Empire Rapid Response Army. You know, which is supposed to be the response of the Earth to Tokyo Jupiter, or the Moo.
Yeah.
But other than Armeno, everything else is gibberish, meant to sound like it's Esperanto. The reason,
really? They're not actually real words?
They're not real Esperanto words at all. If it was accurate, it would be Tiro Imperio Rapida Responto Armino. Which
doesn't spell terror.
Which spells terror with an I instead of an E. But other than that, it would be correct. But I don't see why they had to change all the other words. They could have just made Impero said differently. But I think that's a good thing as we're going in, because we get introduced to Terra. There will be lots in the next few episodes about how very clearly Terra is an international organisation. And I think having its acronym in Esperanto, even fake Esperanto, even Esperanto so fake it is physically painful for me to look at it on my computer screen, and I must swap the tabs so that I'm looking at something else.
Put that. I'm looking at this picture still, and it really is creeping me out. So I'm going to close it.
Yeah.
See, now I've closed that. I now have many pictures of Chris Patton's characters staring me in the face. Closing that tab as well.
Okay. As we meet people who work for Terra, I'm going to point out that they are all from different places in the world-ish. I mean, everyone important seems to be Japanese, but still, there are lots of people from different parts of the world. I may
remind you that you've said this once we get to them.
They are no, I mean, we're going to meet at least one other person who is from somewhere other than Japan in the next episode, so that's nice.
Let's carry on then, because frankly, I do not remember who you're referring to.
I will totally refer you to, because it's my favourite character.
Oh, okay. We now get to the next episode, which is episode 4, and the first one I remember to write the title down on, which is Watch the Year Hand.
Watch the Year Hand. The Japanese title is His Own Watch, for some reason.
Ah, there we go. Fair enough. Okay, yeah, we should probably keep an eye on the names of the episodes, because they're usually a little pretentious, but pretty cool.
If I may go on a tangent, nothing can beat the pretentiousness of Gintama opening title scenes. There is an episode of Gintama which is titled, the TV show Prison Break kind of loses its meaning in its title after the first episode, but then gets it back when you realise that society is a prison. That's the whole title of an episode. And I was like, wow.
That is excellent.
That is a pretentious title of an episode.
That really, I take my hat off to that title. Frankly, no matter how pretentious I ever become, I will remember, and I will feel not at all pretentious. One thing to note before we start the episode properly is that normally my notes for these are separated into plot synopsis with occasional notes on things I want to talk about the plot points, and then a overall things that didn't really fit anywhere that I want to talk about generally.
Cool.
Except this next one, I've got a new section which is characters we don't know but are introduced to really bloody quickly.
Yes, we do get a few of these characters we are introduced to very quickly.
In the next few episodes, I don't remember them perfectly, but I seem to remember the next couple of episodes are just going to be characters thrown at us almost constantly until we're used to them, really. We've just got to build up an immunity. So we'll start now with, let's see, hat and shades dude, random odd redhead, youngish officer, oldish officer, pilot we've seen before, and science guy are the ones that I've got notes on for this one. So,
you know their names.
I know their names, but the show doesn't tell you their names, so I'm merely taking my first response to them. Speaking of first response, actually, normally we will have someone who's never seen the show before and their responses, but that person is currently in Budapest, and as such, I can't get her to watch these with us.
Yeah.
So, that'll start up again as of episode 5 onwards. But for now, right, so, moving back to episode 4. So, first thing we have is, instead of the normal opening, we have a recap. I don't know if that actually happened in the Japanese, but in the English... Oh, it did. We have Haruka telling us everything that's happened so far, and in fact... way more than what's actually happened.
Way more than was ever told us straight in the first 3 episodes.
Not even just that. All the stuff you might... No, it's not all the stuff you might know. That's there. Like, there's a random, appearance of a Tokyo Jupiter. It cut Tokyo off. They're in there. Things were different. And he's gone and got rescued from it. But then the bit at the end, right? The bit at the end was, he must now pilot the RahXephon and fight the people from Tokyo. And when was this established?
I don't know. That seems again.
I realise this is generic robot show fodder.
Yeah, that's just robot show thing. Of course, that's going to happen. He's going to, even though they make a big thing of you don't own this robot, we own this robot, and you're not going to touch it. Everyone knows he's going to pilot that robot. I know that everyone knows he's going to pilot it. I know that he's going to end up fighting the people from Jupiter. And I also know that everybody watching this, who's ever even heard of this sort of show, knows that he's going to end up A, piloting it, B, fighting people from Jupiter who are the giant dolems. However, immediately after this opening which says, the RahXephon must be piloted by Ayato in order to fight the dolems of Tokyo, the next scene is them going, we're going to keep the RahXephon, you keep the pilot,
We don't want them anywhere near each other. It's mine now.
Yes,
It's basically like saying Jeff dies at the end before an episode of Star Trek where we're introduced to Jeff the Red Shirt. We knew he was going to die, but pointing it out to us at the beginning kind of defeats the whole purpose of the episode when you're going, I wonder if he's going to make it the whole way through. Sorry, I got a bit aggressive about that one because it's just annoying. We open with our little recap plus. It is recap plus.
Yeah, recap plus.
Yes.
And yes, as you mentioned, we have like the head of because this was a big international action. It does seem this assault on Tokyo Jupiter.
It was a joint task force, and I noted this down between Ryukyu and Terra.
Mm-hmm. And so we have the people of Ryukyu. Oh yeah, Ryukyu, which is the island.
Is it? At this point, we don't actually know, but no, it was.
Oh no, sorry, it's a fictional addition to the Satsun Islands. They're based on the Nirai Island. Yes, which is one of the island groups making up Japan's Ryukyu Islands. So yeah, there's I think when they say Ryukyu, I think they mean probably one of the few last places that is habitable in southern Japan.
Yeah, potentially.
Yeah, so if they say Ryukyu, I think it's because they've renamed the place Ryukyu, because that's the group of islands that the whole show is going to be set on. It's going to be set on the Ryukyu Islands. Yes,
but the thing is, this other organisation and Terra. Now, Mr. Hat and Shades is here. He is possibly the biggest I am the antagonist character I've seen in some time.
I would disagree with this because I think he's kind of interesting as he's turned up. But we see a bit of this.
Very interesting.
We see a bit of this guy Makoto Ishiki.
Yes, Makoto Ishiki,
who is played. I'm just going to say who he is, but he's played by Tomokazu Seki, one of my favourite voice actors. And get used to hearing this in this episode because quite a few of them I'm going to say.
One of my favourite voice actors.
Because yes, I do like Toshiko Seki. He plays a lot of robot show people. Very good. You may know him as Duo Maxwell. That's the only one I'll give. He's Duo Maxwell in Gundam Wing.
He's not a big enough character for him to be on my list of characters.
No, I can understand. I would actually say I do remember. I
think he's a big character.
English. Well, no. I can understand why you didn't mention this one. But if we want to talk a bit about the English guy, if you want to, whose name actually. He's born in Honduras and he's an American actor, but I'm afraid to pronounce his name. I think he is fantastic as Makoto. I remember him being amazing when I first watched this show, so be prepared for us to both talk about how great he is.
The English actor is also very, very good. I think he's an excellent character. I think he's played very, very well. And look, alright, fine, maybe antagonist is too strong a word, but you know that teacher in the anime school that's going to be the dick, who's going to say to them, you're still children, why are you doing this? I'm the one in charge. You just get that feeling from him straight away. Also, I think he's wearing a straw hat and shades on the ship, you know? But I think it's also, the very first things we ever see of him is him turning up to go, ho-ho, I guess we're taking all their stuff. Mwah.
Yes, because he's
from the second organisation, the one that isn't Terra.
Yes.
So, yeah, he turns up with the captain of the other ship and says, yeah, we're here, you've got a giant robot, the mission was a success, we all put money into it, but we put more than you, so we get the giant robot.
Yep.
And then they say, well, do you want the pilot? Go, no, we already have far, far too many random specimens of Tokyo Jupiter to the implication is that we experiment on torture, you know.
Yeah, they experiment on people from Tokyo Jupiter.
Yeah, the immediate expectation there is that they are subhuman and that they are certainly not worth having. Which is just as when we find out that the Tokyo Jupiter people are pretty much seen as, you know, subhuman and no one really considers them to have rights. We cut to Yayato, who is in the checkup area, getting a checkup because he needs to get his blood looked at. His blood is red. Everyone in the audience breathes a sigh of relief. Everyone on the TV screen breathes a sigh of relief.
Haruka noticeably breathes a sigh of relief.
Goes, oh, thank Christ. Oh, I'm so happy. I feel so much better now. At which point they go looking for the cat.
Yeah.
Because, you know, bringing the cat onto the aircraft carrier was the sensible thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
So,
well, it doesn't violate the Washington Treaty.
No, it doesn't. Yes,
they mentioned the Washington Treaty, which I'm really unsure about what that means.
Is it Washington Treaty in yours? I thought that was just an American to. I thought there was actually a Japanese treaty that they were talking about.
Well, no, the treaty's probably called from where it's signed, and I don't think there's a place in Japan where they could sign it.
Fair enough.
It's important in that bit we do get the first meeting of Jin.
Yes, or
Jin
older
Kunugi.
officer, as I've put him.
Yeah, Jin Kunugi has a chat to Ayato, sort of saying,
Yes. He turns up, and he's clearly Haruka's boss. He's clearly very much in charge, and he's a very no-nonsense sort of person. He immediately tells Ayato to get his act together, really.
Set your watch to the correct time.
Set your watch to the
Everything
correct
he does, even though that seems very innocuous, it really seems to piss off Ayato.
Yeah.
But he's kind of, that's a veiled way of saying, you're with us now, you got to march to our drum, you got to follow orders. Jin Kunugi, just to say, he doesn't get much action other than standing and barking orders about various things and having a bit of antagonizing of Ayato. But from the moment he spoke, in my Japanese audio, I was like, oh, brilliant, because he's played by George Nakata, one of my favourite voice actors. George Nakata, for those who don't know, really is one of my favourite voice actors. He's played the Count of Monte Cristo in Gankutsuo. He's played every tall, evil bad guy in every Type Moon adaptation ever. Most famously, Kirei Kotomine from Fate Stay Night. Alucard in Hellsing. Just, if you need a cool, deep-voiced dude, you get George Nakata. After all that messing around with Commander Jin, we are now back to looking at the cat.
And bitching about how your watch isn't in sync as well.
Well, indeed. Haruka shows us, and it shows that it is not simply different times in different time zones. The two watches click at a different rate, which is something I didn't catch in the first episode, and I really like, because of course that is how you would get that sort of effect. Yes. It wouldn't make sense if they were both clicking at the same rate.
You have a 1 in 4 difference between the two zones.
So for every 4 seconds on the outside, 1 second on the inside. And that again, I love those watches, man. If only we had a time dilation effect on our planet, it'd be cool to have those watches.
It would be cool to have a time dilation effect, really, but it
I'm pretty sure
all sorts of problems.
Guys like you and me, we would totally just go into the place where time is moving slower and periodically leap out and grab cool technology and then leap back in.
Yeah, it's like, I can't wait to see what technology's like next year. Oh my god, it's amazing!
Well, it's either that, or if it depends on how immigration would work. It'd either be that, or I'd go in the place where time would move the fastest.
Really?
Well, yeah, because then you'll always be ahead of the people behind you.
Ah, yes, but you'll also be older than everyone. I mean, at this point,
but you'll have better stuff.
Yeah, but you want to get to the point where you get medical technology to the point where you can be a cyborg and live forever, surely. And then, once you've got to the point where you're not aging, that's when you go into the fastest zone.
Yeah, so you're always
and you
up
live
to
your
date.
life max. Live life max.
Although that would be a problem.
Anyway.
Always keeping up to date as being a cyborg. The endless iTunes updates in your own brain.
I would definitely not have iTunes on my cyborg body parts.
You wouldn't probably have iTunes, but in all fairness, if it comes to cyberization and we still have to choose between Apple and Windows, that's maybe when I'll make the change. I'll make the change from being a Windows person to an Apple person. It's like, nope, it's worth the extra money and the cost. If everything
I'll
else
look
stays the same.
extra shiny, and everything will sync really well with myself.
Exactly. I'll have much better syncing with all of my other devices.
But it'd be like when one of your mates is on Xbox and everyone else is on PlayStation. It's an absolute bitch to communicate and to play together.
Skype will still work on everything.
Yeah, anyway, but you'll be like the only Xbox cyborg in our group.
It won't be like that, because that Xbox is Microsoft. It will be like I'm the only Apple person in our group, and I know plenty of other people who are on Apple. Anyway. But look, ignoring fictionalized Apple cyborgness.
Moving on then. We're looking for this cat. Bloody cat! Right, we're still looking for this cat, and upon wandering all the way around, he manages to find a barber shop, because he's looking to make a barbershop quartet, and unfortunately can't find enough characters. He only finds a young redhead there, who is the creepy, odd redhead from the very beginning of the first episode. Quan, who is not named. But this redhead girl is Quan. She's incredibly odd. She's rather creepy. She also has what is the Japanese one? Because in English, she just goes, Ruru.
Yeah, she goes, Rara. Yeah, she just goes, Rara.
Rara.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's just odd. That isn't a Japanese colloquialism or anything. I don't know, right?
That's not Japanese. That's just a weird thing for her to say.
It's just f***ing odd.
When she's confused.
It's not just when she's confused. It's generally. It's just around. Just she wakes up in the morning. Rubber, 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 rubber. But
You sound like a Pokemon now.
Yeah, well, she kind of is, really, isn't she? She's not human. She's not any. She's just weird. But anyway, so we get to meet this character who really is not normal. As we've said before, her name is Kwan. We won't know her name is Kwan for a while, but it is.
Kwan Kisaragi.
Yep, there you go. And she refers to him as Olin immediately.
Yeah, she just calls him Olin. Which Ayato doesn't recognise. But yeah, again,
completely doesn't.
A fake Aztec word meaning movement.
He encounters her here, and the thing is, right, because in a show where you've got perfect colour fill for their faces, right?
Yeah.
It's very hard to tell who's meant to be pretty and who's not meant to be pretty. Who's plain and who... Because the way he acts is like she's amazingly attractive and he's really taken off guard. But they all look like that because of the animation style.
Yeah. I would say it's something else, but it's a spoiler. Again, when you look at this again, I'm like, oh, I see what this is from watching it again. But if you're an original one, yeah, again, it's just, it's another girl who is, again, has the perfect martial art of making Ayato uncomfortable.
Immediately. Because she comes out of the barbershop and then talks about how the barbershop symbol of the blue and white with red stripes spinning is actually about hospitals, and says, but it's the blue and the red represent the different blood vessels, but why would there... Red is for the blood, but who has blue blood? And, no, it's veins. It's veins and capillaries and everything. It's some red, some blue. You look at your own veins. They're blue.
They look like that, yes, from the outside. So.
Yes, all the deoxygenated blood looks blue.
But
from the outside.
We all know deoxygenated blood doesn't really look blue.
No, fine, no, but I mean the veins. The veins look blue.
Yeah, but that's what she's clearly saying. But of course, in the realm of RahXephon,
it means that the humans and the Mu are similar.
Yeah. Well, no. What it means is the humans and the Mu may have known each other for a long time.
Coexisted. Yeah. She immediately, like one of the first lines she has is going, "Look, humans and Mu together," sort of thing.
We will straight up know that Ayato is part Mu or has the Mu phase. People who have the Mu phase are actually quite ubiquitous outside Tokyo Jupiter, as much as inside Tokyo Jupiter. There are plenty of characters who are Mulian and thus could have blue blood.
Yeah, no, I know what you mean. I'm not sure. If we're trying to be spoiler-free, we should probably not have...
Well, I wouldn't say spoiler, I always say we discuss everything in the 2 episodes that we're talking about as if they've happened, but yeah.
Okay, right. But, yeah, that's what I mean. That's sort of looking ahead far more than we've been trying to.
Kwan, I'm always unsure if we should talk, because I know that the next episode is going to have a lot of Kwan in it as well. So
I think we should talk about Kwan later, but right now she's just really bloody odd. I mean, the first thing she does is talk to him as if she knows everything and refers to him as Olin. She then talks about how the Mulians and the humans may have coexisted or may be very similar.
No, she just says, she says...
No, fine, she hints at it.
They rip the blood vessels, but humans only have red blood.
Ooh. Who has blue blood?
She just holds it there.
Who is it? Who is it, Ayato? Who is it? I'm trying to find out. It's on my test later today, and I can't remember. Who is it?
For $500, they have blue blood that shows their species. Is it what is a Mulian? Congratulations, Sayato. That's $500.
None of which will be relevant anymore because we're now a communist utopia. Should have told you that before you agreed to play this game for money.
Well, it was a Jeopardy reference, but whatever.
I'm well aware it was a Jeopardy reference. I was merely referencing Ayato's out-of-context appearance and knowledge. Anyway, so she asks him to dress her, which again, rather an inappropriate way of saying, "Could you help me do the clasps on my jacket?" Yeah,
which she should be able to do.
That's my point.
Her own.
Yeah. Is it the clasps? And it's not even like, do you want me to fiddle with doing right here? Like, just on your stomach? No. Do them from behind. if you look at the clasps, they're just a buckle. They're even easier than a seatbelt buckle. It's just a click in.
It's ridiculous.
Twice. And it's just like, I can't do them on my own. Why? Because I'm effeminate.
Well, no, I don't think it's because she's effeminate.
No. But it's that real. I don't know the word for it, but it's the one of. It's not actual feminine. It's pretend feminine. The feminine of I can't even pick something off the ground. I'm just a girl. It's like that.
I'm sorry, I disagree with that. I think she's just messing with him.
She probably is, but it's like I can't even do this. Oh yeah, and you have to sort of basically embrace me from behind as well in order to do the clasps up. Which you could clearly do them up from the front. He could clearly do them up from the front. No. Go behind me and reach around and then do the clasps up on my really easy to put on jacket module thing.
Life jacket thing.
Yeah.
I would always say this is weird but has significance when you watch it again and you know everyone's relationships. Because half the fun of RahXephon is, oh my god, everyone's relationship with each other is so complicated and different and weird and screwed around because of the time difference.
Yeah. Oh no, yeah, because of everything really, because of the Mulligan bullshit as well. But no, one thing as well is just she's immediately messing with him, because just the way that she says, "Oh, I'd really like to get a haircut naked if I could, but if I were walking around naked getting a haircut, do you not think that would be odd?" And everyone's just like, "It would be odd. Stop saying the word naked to a 17-year-old. You know what it does to them." It's just so yeah. This is Ayato's uncomfortable wants to find something to stand behind moment, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah. So while all this is going on, the absolute sexual tension. That's sexual tension. I'm sorry.
No, that's just weird.
This is weird.
You can't call. Also, again, at the risk of being spoiled, don't call that sexual tension. You and I both know what their relationship is. That's weird.
Yeah. All right, fine. I think you're referring. Right. There is also a film of RahXephon, and that film changes things. It moves certain people's relationships around.
It does indeed, yeah.
Some people end up in a different, some people end up related to one another who aren't related to one another in the series, and vice versa.
Yeah.
And I believe you're thinking of the film relationship when you talk about that, rather than this one. No.
It's the other way around in the film.
Yes. Fair enough. Okay, fine. We'll find out. I'm sure we're going to do the film at some point as well.
I just want to point out to everyone, I might keep this in because just to point out to everyone listening, Huw is the one who really likes this show.
Huw was the one who's seen it for 10 years!
Yes, but this is the thing, Huw. When I really like something, I read about it quite a bit, and I remember things. I've actually spent time reading up on this and remembering stuff about it.
I liked RahXephon when I watched it. I watched it, I very much enjoyed it. I think I read up on things on the time, but I like to deliberately forget things. Okay, this is the thing. This is the difference here. You don't mind spoilers. You don't mind knowing about things in advance, and you certainly don't mind revisiting things quickly and efficiently. If I'm going to reread something, I prefer to have at least mostly forgotten what happened, so I can get the feeling of enjoying it again. I deliberately try and avoid memorizing shows, so that if I rewatch, reread, re-listen, whatever, I can enjoy it just as much as I did the first time. I think RahXephon, as we've said before, is a great series to watch the first time. It is a fantastic series to watch the second time as well, because you now know all of the stuff that's going on in the background. You know what all the characters' motivations are and all their secrets. Yep. However, if it's been 10 years and you haven't made any real effort to remember, I apologise that I will maybe get some things wrong in advance of seeing them again. But hopefully I will manage to stick to the facts of in episodes. Which, considering we're meant to be only sticking within episodes, we should stop this line of thought right here.
Yeah. So anyway.
Meanwhile, on the catfight arena, we have Haruka, who has found the pilot. Now, you remember we said that only one ship survived, and it was the miraculous one that was painted a different colour.
It was
and clearly
bright
had
red.
An actual character in it. So yeah, the bright red one was the only survivor. And it turns out that was piloted by someone who really enjoys drinking absinthe with Haruka.
Yes, she said, yes, the absinthe you got me was all just a ploy. This character's name, who she is introduced, Haruka calls her, it gives her full name, Elvri Hadyat. And if the name isn't interesting enough, other than the fact that it's also written in katakana, she is from Indonesia.
Yes, she, I'll admit, is not Japanese and is a reasonably major character.
And she's very cool. She's certainly my favourite character.
She's exactly your thing, frankly.
Yeah.
If you were to pick a list of all the characters based on their appearance and personalities, I think nobody who knows you would get it wrong that you like her above them.
Yes, indeed.
The rest of them.
But she's really pissed off because all her mates are dead.
Yeah, her entire squadron was killed.
Mm.
So, yeah.
And she wants... go on.
No, I was going to say, and her character is actually based off a real-life World War II fighter.
Yes, Lydia Litviak, a World War II fighter race named the White Rose of Stalingrad. And indeed, her nickname is Bunga Mawar, Red Rose Blossom in Indonesian. Apologies, I don't have a good Indonesian accent. That probably sounded horrible.
I'm sorry. We can probably do British accents quite well. Your Japanese might be passable. It's hard for me to tell. But everything else, I'm apologising in advance. We will murder other languages.
Yeah.
Particularly Mayan, Esperanto, Japanese, Spanish, Indonesian, any of these. So, yeah. So, yeah, that's fun to look forward to.
Yeah.
Right. Anyway, so she's very angry that her entire squad is dead, and she's blaming Haruka for this, as Haruka seemed to never have mentioned the fact that she's a spy, that the whole point of the operation was to go in and take the RahXephon and Ayato out of Tokyo Jupiter, and she's rather annoyed that this wasn't mentioned to her in advance. So,
yeah. And sadly, because Haruka, of course, being an intelligence officer, can't tell her anything, they sadly come to blows.
Yeah. Not even, like... It's just an off-screen slap noise, really, isn't it? And then a red mark on. Do you know what's weird? Is that it just sounds like
one slap.
Elvie's hit her once, has hit Haruka. And then when you see Elvie also has a mark.
I assume Haruka returned in kind.
Yeah, it does seem that they decided to make things even. And as such, they end up both with a mark for the rest of the episode.
Yeah. Not the best introduction to Elvie as a character. I wouldn't really call her introduction in the other episodes enough. But
I think this is more...
This is totally justified, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. But I actually think this is more just a reason why they aren't introducing her, really. I think this sort of gives grounds for why she avoids seeing Haruka and being involved for a while, in that they're basically saying, look, this character's a major character, she's been around, but her entire squad's dead, and she's really pissed at all the main characters you've been following so far, and as such, you're probably not going to see her for a bit.
Yeah. Which is understandable.
So, yeah. And then we cut back to the further looking around for the cat, I believe.
Yes, both Kwon and Ayato are looking around for the cat, and
Although,
Kwon...
frankly, they're just wandering at this point.
Yeah, and Kwon, without any hesitation, sort of gets on a very thin rail and walks out into it. She'd kick the hell out of the human derby.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
She'd have no trouble with the human derby. Yeah,
absolutely. Ayato doesn't really feel very comfortable walking onto this beam.
Because he is a normal person.
Yeah, I know. It's just... I've put fear of heights, but frankly it isn't. It's fear of pointless risk more than anything else. You're on a moving ship. You're on a ship that's moving, that may rock at any point, that may, at some point wobble slightly even. And it's quite a thin rail over the ocean. I wouldn't go on it. Not without a damn good reason. And the reason appears to be, meh, sort of thing. So yeah, they then get accosted by...
Makoto.
Yep, your favourite voice actor ever, plus the other ones. Yeah, so Iski turns up and decides to be a dick. His dialogue here is just that he's a bit of a dick to them, really. There isn't anything more than that, as far as I remember.
Isn't he just talking about, the Earth Federation's got the RahXephon?
Yeah.
You don't get to keep the RahXephon.
Turned up and gone, what? You think you have the right to keep the giant rover just because you're the only one that can fly it?
Well, I mean, it seems weird. Everyone, this is the one part of the episode that seemed to fall flat for me. Everyone seems to assume that he wants to keep the robot. Ayato never says this, but Ayato weirdly seems to act like he wants to keep the robot. I'm like, but wait, why does he want to keep the robot?
I actually think Ayato's just fighting the authority here. Everyone's just like, we're taking it from you.
Yeah,
and he's like, hey.
Yeah, when you're 17, you don't like being laughed at. I get the feeling, he feels like he's being treated.
Exactly. I don't think he's got any major desire to have the robot, other than that, it was useful briefly before. But I actually just think it's just the whole thing of everyone going, no, you can't keep it, expecting him to want to, makes him go, actually, yeah, well, I didn't want to, but why?
Yeah.
Exactly?
Why is everyone being such a jerk?
Yeah.
But yeah, that's because it cuts from him meeting Makoto in that situation, and then moves to them talking about it almost immediately. Also, in the background we have, and he's already had a line, we see Soichi Yakumo, who is the second in command at Terra, and is about as different from Jin as it is possible to be without also being a lady.
I did note down young officer here as well, Yakumo. And yeah, he's young, he's friendly, he's, approachable.
More talkative.
Oh, certainly, yeah. He is really, as you say, everything Jin is not. That's Yakumo. But
Yakumo, by the way, means 8 clouds and is an old name for Japan.
Oh, okay. So he's I was going to say the token Japanese people in this very multicultural area, but considering you've only found one so far that isn't Japanese.
Well, I assume well, actually, no, that's true. The other guys are from Ryukyu, so yeah, they're all kind of essentially Japanese anyway.
Yeah.
I'm talking about more Terra, not when we meet, like all the people who work at the bridge and stuff. But
yeah, fair enough. So, we have Ayato fighting a bit of authority here, where talking back to Itsuki, and the RahXephon is transferred to the other ship. The ship sails away, taking it to research. Makoto.
Wait, no, Itsuki is Itsuki Kisaragi. Makoto is... Give me a second.
Ishiki,
yeah, not Itsuki. You gotta be careful now, because there is a character called Itsuki.
Yes.
Makoto is Makoto Ishiki.
Ishiki. Makoto.
Yes,
so Makoto.
Let's stick with Makoto.
He can be Makoto, and the other one
Makoto.
can be Itsuki, because he's probably going to be called Itsuki more often than that. Anyway, so Makoto stays on the ship, but the other ship takes the RahXephon away, essentially for research, as far as I can tell. They want to have the research department look at it, try and replicate it, maybe just do something like that.
So you can fight the Mulians on their own terms.
Essentially, then Ayato gets taken to a small room. A small room which has both him and Haruka. Now, at this point, Ayato is really feeling rather angry at his treatment. He's treated like he's not human. He finds out this is basically because they don't really consider the residents of Tokyo Jupiter to be people.
Because they consider them to be invaders. Because the Mu created the Tokyo Jupiter.
And the newspaper article he's reading, which he cites as the main reason he can tell this, is because they're thinking of nuking Tokyo Jupiter. Which, do you know what? I'd forgotten they were thinking of doing that, and frankly, it's a bloody good idea.
Really?
Well, yes, the Dolums are going to live, but you put a couple of nukes through Tokyo Jupiter. Tokyo Jupiter's not going to come down. It's a massive protective barrier. You can put stuff in there. Nuke the shit out of it.
Wait, sorry. Wait, are you talking about putting a nuke inside Tokyo Jupiter?
Oh, yeah.
Not bombing it on the
outside. Don't throw nukes to the barrier.
I didn't want to spoil it, but it will be revealed later. I don't think it's a real spoiler. They have already tried that.
Yeah.
Detonating nuclear weapons outside. And it was not good.
Nothing. No, the thing is, you can't penetrate the barrier, but they've just... with any sort of standard weapons, but they've already said we can put things... They put in the ship containing Haruka, they put in all the attack vessels.
So
they can penetrate the barrier just enough. If you just do that with a few warheads, blow the fuck out of everyone in there. Yes, you might say, but the Dolums would probably survive, as might the original Mulians, but I get the feeling if you destroy a lot of that stuff, you do a fair bit of damage. And it just surprises me that they haven't. It might get revealed later. I'm pretty sure it will, why they don't actually, because I think it's largely that they want to harness the tech. I do think that's a damn good idea. If you want to just write all the civilians off as Mulians, just nuke the place. But anyway, so Haruka then takes offense to this and goes, do you think I think that? Do you think I think that you're not a person? And he goes, no. You are the one person who is okay, and I'm going to put all of my trust and sense of reason in you, and you alone. A wonderful, very, well-rounded approach to psychology that he has. And at this point, she gets an announcement asking her to go onto the ship and talk to Jin, leaving him alone in the room.
The moment she walks out the room, it locks itself in like 5 different doors.
Yeah, it's fantastic. It's like a fucking bomb-proof room. So, runs up to talk to Jim and goes, why the hell is he in an incredibly sealed bunker?
That will blow up if someone tries to force the door open.
Yeah, this is like, the Avengers where you'd keep the Hulk.
Yes.
Really.
This is
This is
exactly,
just absolutely, do not let it out, get rid of it the moment it tries to do anything, sort of response to Ayato, the 17-year-old boy. He then informs her that he has the Mu phase in his blood, and while his blood is still red, he does have... It's not really said what the Mu phase is, although from the actual screen you have two sort of sets of DNA on either side, one of which I assume is human and one is not. And the one that's not does seem to have... it's not the whole Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. triple helix rather than double helix, but it's certainly... There's more to it.
But yeah, he has the Mu phase.
The Mu phase.
We aren't, again, it's never really shown super seriously. I think by the time all the information has been shown, I'm going to give my opinion on exactly how the Mu phase works. But at the moment, that means that as far as people of Terra are concerned, he's dangerous.
Yes, they do say he may be a Mulian, he may not be a Mulian, but we have to treat him as if he is for now, because, yeah. And do you know what? I'm on Jin's side here. I know that Haruka wants to treat him nice and get him to, feel comfortable and feel at home and everything, but frankly, you've got invading aliens who look like people, and then you get one of them out, and you test him, and is he an alien or is he a people? Well, it's inconclusive. He's definitely got aspects of alien, but he's definitely, he's got red blood, but he's got the Mu phase. So, frankly, yeah, caution. I am completely on their side here. Absolutely, have caution. Lock him up. And then, this is something we raised in the previous episodes. Ayato's complete disinterest and curiosity about learning things.
Well, that's
he points this out. Yeah.
Oh yeah, you talk about his disinterest. I had like a thing written down for this sequence where he goes, "Look, even with all of the possibility of learning what's going on in front of him, he takes the time to doodle." And yeah, you say it shows Ayato's lack of interest. I think what this really shows is he might as well have gone, "Look at him. He's such a teenager." We come here, we adults, we give him things that are understandable to us, and he does not do them. Teenager.
Alright, you want to see it as a great metaphor for...
I don't think it's a metaphor. I think he's just acting like a sulky teenager.
No, I'd agree with that. But no, the thing is, he's got a point. Again, I'm kind of with Jin on this one, in that Ayato is a fish out of water. He's got all this stuff that's been kept from him. He's finding out all this information, and he's put in front of a screen connected to either a database or the internet. It's never really made clear. But he's got all the resources there to look stuff up and find things out for himself.
And he doesn't.
Doesn't even vaguely care. So, he ends up just sketching Mishima again.
Yep.
And Jin says, what sort of environment was he raised in like this? When I think that's quite a salient point here, is that it's not him as a person so much as it's the environment he's raised in. He's been conditioned to just draw, to do art.
Yeah, he's been
not
conditioned.
Question anything. In fact, everyone in Tokyo Jupiter seems to be like that. You don't question, you just accept what's happening, and you get on with your task.
Well, I get the feeling that's the Mu wanting people in Tokyo Jupiter to be controllable, because they are humans until their Mu phase is activated. Or so it seems.
Yes. He's being a bit of a sulky teenager, but he's also finding that complete disinterest here is kind of pissing off the Jin and the other authorities, really, because they kind of... Frankly, I agree, though. They really... You would expect him to just look something up to actually care, but he doesn't. He just doesn't seem to care. Maybe I also would find teenagers a massive hassle to deal with. But at this point, then, a bit of a scene where Kwon walks onto the bridge and goes, "Oh, by the way, did you know there's a Dolem coming?" And everyone freaks the out, checks their instruments and goes, "She's right, there's a Dolem coming." At which point she walks away going, yeah, if anyone didn't notice, I have a weird connection to the Mu. Yeah, maybe we should establish that even further. I know they're coming before any of your machines did.
Yep.
Just want to make that clear. So, yeah, Kwon really, I don't mind at all, but they are making no effort at all whatsoever to hide her non-normal characteristics here.
I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
No, absolutely. I'm saying from the word go, she's always in the Mishima, Lady Maya sort of way, talking about things that you don't understand and clearly having more knowledge of the situation than anyone else does at this time. So, Yeah, we then have the D1, which is the way they refer to the Dolems, coming out, and a big, long, extended sequence with the military.
Yep, where Jin gets to call out a lot of things that really should be automated, really, in modern military, and they all shoot at the approaching underwater. I looked at it and I was like, oh, that kind of looks like a giant underwater fleshlight.
Yeah.
Yeah, with the front, it's like, oh no, it's a swimming vagina of death. Right. And it comes up and it totally wrecks a submarine. So he goes, phallic object, I will destroy you, for I am the giant vagina.
You should be... No, it also penetrates it first. That's the other thing. This thing has tentacles which penetrate into the metal.
Yep.
And then just rips the thing to pieces. This, again, is quite a long sequence of just military missiles, military vehicles, military machine guns. Everything you could want in the military porn aspect to be fired at the Dolem is... and nothing works whatsoever. This entire extended sequence is just really establishing what we already knew, that conventional technology is pointless to throw at Dolems.
It's kind of like an expected thing, isn't it? You've got to have a reason for why the robot is used.
Robot is needed. Yeah.
So, you have to be able to show it. But this sequence actually is very well animated, and it's another one of Bones being great at showing machines working, which I'm highly in favour of.
The main thing here, though, they then end up sending drones. No human pilots were lost, even though we just lost all that massive submarine full of people with all hands. But essentially, after all of this, it cuts to the people taking the RahXephon away, who get told, hey, they're under attack by a Dolem. And then to reinforce what a dick this organisation is, they just go, looks like we left early. Oh, and by the way, you remember we left that guy Makoto there? He drew the short straw. Ha ha ha! They're all gonna die.
They say, yeah, thank goodness good thing we moved up the schedule, and I guess Makoto's written off.
Yeah, I mean the thing is, I'm absolutely all for these personalities or whatever, but they really go out of their way to be dicks as people, don't they?
Well, again, there is a good reason, but I think we'll get that in later episodes.
Oh, no, absolutely. But you know what I mean. If you've got this whole organisations working together with mutual respect of any kind, and, you hear, they're under attack, then what you'd expect or hope the commander to say is, well, there's nothing we can do to help them. We're just going to have to get this valuable resource away before it catches up.
Instead of,
then maybe...
lol.
Yeah, lol, all going to die. Ha ha. So, yeah. But the D1 then manages to penetrate the ship in a wonderful role reversal, since you've decided to make it in my head as a giant vagina.
But it is until it then it becomes a bit more phallic, I guess, and it gets its Dolem face.
Certainly. Yeah.
It gets its Dolem face. But when it first arrived, because of the shape of the front bit, I was like, "Whoa, evil space vagina!" With 3 eyes or 6 eyes.
So it's like, it's loads of bloody eyes. So once it pierces the centre of the ship, there's a big shockwave around, and this is when Ayato suddenly realises he's locked in.
Yeah.
And decides to blame everyone. He's like, I blame you, I blame you, I blame you, and also Haruka. I thought I could trust her, and I've now decided that my entire basis of trust is a shambles! Yeah. So, completely hating everyone and everything at this point.
You've got this whole bit of him going, got to open it, everything. But again, if only I was more interested, I'd have noticed that the door slammed locked 5 times behind me.
Yeah, it's really just a thing of, at this point, Ayato doesn't care. He's barely aware of his surroundings, really. And he's, as much as I was criticising Haruka for not explaining anything to him ever, she has her reasons for doing that, and he's not asking. He asks occasionally when it comes up, but frankly, if you or I were put in that situation, we'd be asking questions,
Everyone would be asking questions.
What the f***'s going on, Just for the main question, anyway. But, he then discovers that the drawing has come to life, and that he's got weird supernatural red eyes, as has Quan at this moment. At which point, it's not really made clear, but one of them is summoning the RahXephon. The RahXephon, from the other ship, gets up and starts flying towards them with its glowing red eyes, but...
You sure that... the RahXephon, when it gets up, doesn't have its eyes open. I notice on that. Although the wings are pulled away, even the red eyes. So it obviously doesn't have the gold eyes, which only happen when it gets serious. But it doesn't even have its lower red eyes. It's only got its top red eyes.
Oh yeah, the top ones, yeah.
They eventually open up. I wonder exactly how intentional it was, because they seem to be open before Ayato gets inside later on. But still, I always think it's important. seems to have its eyes closed when it sort of opens up and does another bit of ah-iness.
The thing is, it's clearly one or both of them summoning it, but the implication is not there as to which one. I mean, I actually think there's more evidence to be said that Quan's summoning it, if you didn't know that Ayato's the pilot who did it last time. You know, just based on this episode, if you only saw this one, you would say it was Quan, probably. But, at which point the RahXephon has arrived, and Ayato has miraculously disappeared from his cell. No one can quite explain how, and even though they have video cameras, no one thinks to look back at all. They just look at the live feed and say, no, he's not there, and I'm afraid I forgot to push record this morning, so I guess we'll never know.
You had so much energy and then it just sort of disappeared.
Yeah, no, it's because I'm looking at my notes about what happened next, and I've got...
Well, pretty much RahXephon turns up, and after now Ayato is inside, it punches the Dolem and blows it up.
Yeah,
and it blows into a lot of blue blood, which is different from before.
Yeah, he punches it with two hands and just rips it apart. Again, it's mostly just a go for the throat with your bare hands strategy here. Ayato
is absorbed by the RahXephon. The RahXephon pretty much shows everyone up how useful it is by destroying this Dolem, this thing that no one has been able to touch, by ripping it in half quite easily. Blue blood splatters everywhere.
Yeah, I've got the words "gore-splosion" written down.
Yeah, but in blue, so it kind of doesn't really change anything, because that's what really
certainly won't change the rating of the show.
Well, that's what censors care about. They don't care about blood so much as the colour red. You can drown...
They're like bulls. Everyone in the censor organisation is actually a bull.
Well, I mean, Quentin Tarantino said this as well. They deliberately made, in a vampire movie he made the blood green. They were like, well, if you have a green blood, you could be drowned in a river of green blood, and they don't care. It's red that makes a difference. And so he said, well, let's make the vampire's blood green then, and they could make sure that their movie wasn't unreleasable. And in a way, this is good, because this separates it further from people trying to compare it to Evangelion, which you know I am against. So this one, everything explodes.
I know you're against it, but I find
blood.
it useful to compare to Evangelion, frankly. I think they are similar shows. As much as you want to cite other shows that it's far more similar to, there are other shows I haven't seen, and I do think that people watching this will find it's very similar, and a lot of the characters are just the same characters moved around at first glance. Though I would usually argue the depth is far greater in this show for quite a lot of the characters. Anyway, so at which point, since the RahXephon has... It's the old rules of you release the RahXephon, and whoever it comes back to is the one it truly loves and the one that gets to keep it. So, between the two ships, the breakup means that the RahXephon stays with Jin.
Which is good, because our last shot is the RahXephon with Ayato still in it, descending into what seems to be a RahXephon-made hangar for it.
I know! You're just like, you totally weren't expecting to end up with the RahXephon, were you? You've built a f***ing pool for it. Deliberately, yes. And then we have Science Guy, who is actually Itsuki, but I've just got him as Science Guy.
Yeah. With
his long hair and glasses and lab coat.
And that's the end of the episode.
It is, yes. Now...
At last.
Yes. Now, the main thing I would say that I wanted to talk about here, the only actual thing that I've written down other than the characters, was... I think it's kind of a product of the animation style, but it's something that sort of weirds me out slightly, is the whole... There isn't ever any debris. Okay, anytime anything is destroyed, it is destroyed into a cloud of smoke or a cloud of gore. So all the dolems explode into blue blood and no actual sort of clay materials whatsoever. All of the mechanical things just explode generally into clouds of black smoke. And I think it's an artistic style choice-wise, but it really takes me out slightly when they do this.
It is not an artistic choice, I'll tell you right now. It is a animation choice. Things blowing up into clouds, easy to animate.
No, exactly, yeah. That's what I'm saying. It does slightly bother me. It's one of the only things I think is slightly lacking in the animation, is that they just went for, and then that exploded. Look at the big cloud of blue. Look at the big cloud of black. Done.
Yes. You know? Then you don't have to animate lots of falling things and stuff that's very difficult to model and get animators to draw without having to like show them a reference. And that's the problem. You don't have to show them a reference of some kind.
It's something that will continue throughout, is this distinct absence of any remains Is there anything else you want to cover in episode 4?
Episode 4, it's setting up things, gradually introducing us to the members of Terra, and showing us the problem that Ayato will face, in that he is now a kind of foreigner. He is an alien, in a way, or at least certainly people are treating him like an alien. But as far as he was concerned, he was human, and I think, his confusion and sort of weirding out by, his confusion and, his dislike of how he's being treated, because as far as he's concerned, he was human.
And still is.
And still is human. So why should he be treated like this?
Yeah, and the thing again of Haruka just wanting to accept him and the other people just wanting him either to be useful or wanting him to go away and be monitored.
Yep.
Is the other thing here that stands out, I think.
Or really just go away and be kept somewhere.
Yeah, exactly. But you get introduced to the two organisations as being definite rivals and quite aggressive towards one another. They're not willing partners. Operation Overlord seems to have been a massive fluke that it actually worked.
I don't know. I don't think... Do the Ryukyu Islands government turn up that much more? I think it's all just Terra and the world government from now on, isn't it?
The Babam Institute, in particular.
I don't think did they mention the
Babam Institute. No, they didn't, but that is the organisation that's taking the RahXephon. It's not actually named in the episode, but the other organisation that's taking it, the Ryukyu one, is actually just working for them.
Ah, okay. Well, that I can understand, because I, having watched the series, know who the Babam Institute is.
Yes, but no, at this point, it's basically setting up that there is two groups who participated in this operation, neither of which like each other very much, and they certainly don't normally cooperate to any realistic degree.
Mm-hmm. Well, I can't. I think 4 again is a bit of an introductory one, other than more of Ayato moving the robot without being able to be near it, further showing, it's not a matter of Ayato happened to be in the right cockpit at the right time, and anyone can pilot the RahXephon. This is very much like the RahXephon is a superpower for Ayato, and we get introduced to Quan, and Quan's appropriately weird, but because of the amount of just plot and positioning it needs to get into, we don't get much else. But I think it's a very good one. I think Jun, in particular, his intro is very good. We get to see him being a boss and such. So it's, again, a bit more character and a bit more setup for this episode. But nothing I think I need to go, oh my god, this expands upon things. You?
No, I think like we've covered, it's basically just setting up the outside world. The first of the 2 episodes we watched was setting up the relationship between Haruka and Ayato. The second one is setting up the relationship between the Ayato and the outside world that he now has to live in. And it's very much an introductory episode, as he said.
Yeah.
The next one is also going to be like this, though. Episode 5 is really just going to be, so this is where we're going to end up being most of the time. These are the people who are here. How is this going? By the time we get to 6, that's when we're going to start to get to the actual flesh and meat of the show itself, I think.
Hey, Huw.
Mm-hmm.
Set your watch to the correct time.
Oh, I hate doing that. It's so much hassle.